electoral laws that really work. And remember the Apex Court this year, after the presidential petition, and also in 2017 said that IEBC, you need to put your house in order. Well, that is what will be forming part of what we'll be discussing right now. And now, allow me to introduce my guest this morning, beginning with my immediate left. Well, talking about Parliament, he is a member of the National Assembly. He is Honorable Alpha Miruka, MP Bomachoge Chache. Karibu sana mheshimiwa.
Thank you very much.
Kamau?
Yes, sir.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Kamau is a leadership and governance expert, and we will be trying to put things into perspective in regards to what is currently happening in the country. Mheshimiwa, something that a lot of people don't see, looking at how you've dressed and looking at how you've come, you just you drove yourself. You didn't have the big convoys, you didn't have a huge security detail. Actually, you drove yourself here.
Yeah, that's my humble beginning. Taught me good lessons.
Okay.
This world you live alone, and the most important thing you must know about this life is what you do. The end product of what you do. If you do good, you invest good, you harvest good. Now, as a member of parliament, having a lot of convoy, I don't see it to me has any value. I've not messed up with anybody. I can drive myself, I can do my things, but in special occasions, I usually need them, and I use them.
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm a God-fearing man who believes that everything you do in this world, God has a reason and a purpose. Yes.
And you pass by just like any other Kenyan.
Yeah, I'm a normal Kenyan. The only difference between me and a normal Kenyan is I'm a member of parliament.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm working for the people of Machoka Chacha constituents from Kisii County. But in another normal life, I'm a normal person. I go to any supermarket.
Yeah.
I do shopping myself. Yeah. Challenges we're facing as a country, it's affecting all of us. Yes.
And I would say it's quite commendable, Mheshimiwa.
Yeah.
To begin us, IEBC yesterday during their post-election review of how the 2022 elections were, they have put a blame on Parliament, saying that Parliament has not actualized a lot of legislation in regards to electoral reforms in the country. I would like to pick your mind on that.
They may be true to some extent. Remember, we have now hardly 3 months in office. The current government is now putting every system in place. That means in this government, I'm sure we are going to deal with them. We are going to solve their problems. But remember last parliament, we had issues. The parliament of last time, it was a divided government. You remember at the midway, we had an handshake. I used to be in the 12th parliament. I'm now serving my second term. Now, after the handshake, things went haywire. Now, that's the reason why every government aspect, things were being delayed because of, you remember, you know every aspect of the last government. But now in this Kenya Kwanza government, we have an able president who's focused. I'm sure as we hit next year, things are going to be in the right track. Yes.
And the Kenya Kwanza divide is hell-bent on ensuring that the IEBC, all the commissioners are out. And why I say this is because your majority leader did say that the best thing and the logical thing for IEBC commissioners to do is just to step out. Is it quite stepping aside, or is it being bundled out? Because at the end of the day, if this the report will end up in Parliament. JLAC had that report, and after the tribunal, Parliament will make a decision. And we know very well, we talk about the tyranny of numbers, these guys are gone.
Let me tell you about the commissioners. If you flash back about what happened the last general election, even me, I thought we had a very unified commission that was able to make sure that we are doing a very credible process of election. But immediately after presidential results were about to be announced, that's time we saw a divided commission. When Chepuka, the chairman, is in Bomas of Kenya, therefore the general team was in Serena Hotel. It clearly indicates that that was a divided commission. In fact, if we were not to took the hand of God, we were to be having a Kenyan which is split into two. But because I like now the way the opposition leader managed to behave himself, that we have managed to be here now. In that sense that we have a government now, today. To me, it's very noble. For them resigning, they understand why they are resigning. the best way is to resign. If you see that things are not working in your office well, you resign with your own reasons. But to me, it's high time now we have a new commission, not a divided commission, a commission which is independent, a commission which will deliver the minds and the interest of our Kenyans, that will not give us again a divided, an independent body that cannot be used with politicians, either president or an opposition leader, that can make independent decisions for our Kenyans. That's my prayer. That's the reason I'm supporting that. It's high time now that we form a new commission with new blood, new chairman, new people with new energy, new mindset that can lead us now to the right direction. We do away with this divided commission.
Another thing, Mheshimiwa, it's a good thing that you've said we need to clean up the IEBC and we need to have a united commission as opposed to a divided commission. We will be having new commissioners because looking at the way things are, we only have, Irene Masit is the only one left, because looking at the tenure of the other 3 commissioners, including the chairman, is just coming to the tail end. And if we decide, fine, we need to have a lean, clean IEBC that is not divided, what happens in 2027 if at all some of the people may decide, or some of the IEBC commissioners might decide to disagree? What that means is that Parliament could be able to sway or to control if we have to have them resign again. Because if you ask me, these guys have resigned because of pressure.
To me, I doubt it's not pressure. Let me explain one thing. We do a lot of stages in election. We start from an MCA, we do members of parliament, we do women reps, we do governors, senators. Where do we see dispute? It's only presidential election. And if you see the history of this Kenyan, our Kenya is our country. There is no single day since I started the voting, the only person who's against presidential elections, our right honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. That's no one. If we can have good people, let me tell you now.
Judging by the petitions that we have, they are from various people, including him.
No, let me tell you, it's high time. Once you lose it, you accept.
Okay.
And you accept this is my country, let's move on. And develop new strategies, develop new ideas for you again to convince voters for the next 5 years, for them to vote you in the next regime. And once you plan your things well, there is no single day you will win. And the IEBC is there to announce results. It's not there to manipulate. No, it's there to tally. After tallying, they announce the winner.
It's as simple as that. Actually, the issue has been always in the adding. We don't have any subtraction. We're not using logarithm tables or something. But I would like to bring in Kamau now as a leadership and governance expert. From where you are looking at the IEBC, Parliament yesterday was blamed by IEBC in delaying some of the reforms in IEBC, because even the Apex Court pronounced itself and said we do need to have a keen look at the IEBC. But looking at how these commissioners have resigned, they're talking about pressure after so seeking, they were misinterpreted and misreported, and because of that they are stepping aside. But you and I know very well there's a lot of pressure. Looking at the majority leader, he said that the prudent thing that IEBC commissioners need to do is to step aside, and 3 have already done that. The good thing that Mheshimiwa here talks about, we need a clean and united IEBC. But what happens? We also have the tyranny of numbers, because if at all anything is going to end up in Parliament, we know how they vote.
Thank you so much, Ben. Mheshimiwa, having met you, I've always seen you around, and I appreciate that, like my brother had said, you're a humble man, and we appreciate that. On the issue of the IBC, I think I may not dwell that because the Waheshimiwa are the one who are mandated to look into that, and they're also looking into their interest in above come to 2027. As you look into what we are in Kenya Kwanza government, it needs to deliver its mandate that it's promised to people, and that has to go to the tenure of the President William Ruto in 10 years term. But that doesn't mean that he won't have opposition here and there with people. Having said that, is to know that he has to put up a set that can favor him in 2027, which is IEBC, which is also a good thing or a bad thing altogether. Because when you look at the current chair, came in due with the Jubilee government or even earlier, and has delivered from the days of President Uhuru Kenyatta and to now William Ruto. Time has come for him to exit, and the person who was next to be the chair, could be the vice chair, is Cherera. Cherera demonstrated that he's not comfortable with the way the election was done this current term of 2022. So the best thing to do and prudent thing to do for a regime or for a government that is in place is to put all his angle and frames into better use, so that when come 27, if they won't have finished their mandate, they will have advantage over the other who are coming in. The issue of IEBC has been with that for the last 6 years now going down, because there was the issue of Chebukati and the team. There were, you remember the Machozi Friday and I think Monday, it was all about IEBC. And what IEBC did this time, personally, Mheshimiwa, I was in the other side of Azimio, but now I have to support the government, because even the Bible, you say you're a Christian, commands us to honor those who are in authority and support them, so that our lives can be easy. So I have no other mandate but to support the government. But that doesn't mean that we can't look into other things that can really, Mheshimiwa cannot say, because when you look at the parliament, like you say in the tyranny of numbers, there are things that Mheshimiwa cannot say, because he is mandated to collectively support the government. But remember, the parliament, judiciary and the executive are three arms of the government. But we are seeing in a case where every other arm of the government is called in to support the executive, which is actually a good thing, but not a good thing per se, because each arm of the government is supposed to negotiate with the other, so that the Wanjiko who mandate them or who give them the power can get the real effect of it. So for me, IEBC is being prepared for 2027, which is also a good thing, because probably some of us, including yourself, you could be participating in this IEBC. So if we have an IEBC which will favor you, and an IEBC that will favor Mheshimiwa, an IEBC that will deliver to the mandate given by the Constitution of Kenya, why not? Yes.
That's a good way to look at it, but we are always, what guarantee do we have that as soon as we have a clean IEBC, we will not have people who want them to exit, because it has been recurring. And I actually commend Wafula Chebukati, because Wafula Chebukati must go. Just was there in 2017, was there before 2022, but he held strong and he has finished the race, just like we say in the Bible. What guarantee do we have that the political dynamics in the country do change? People move from one divide to another, and especially when we get near the general election. What guarantee do we have that the next lot or the next people in government or opposition will not say, we don't want anything to do with these IEBC commissioners? What guarantee do we have? Because all they have is the security of 10 of the 6 years.
The issue is with human beings. Everything you see, including all the technical, all the machineries that we have, they have got a human subject in it. And that goes to say that when you're given a mandate, you have to negotiate with the people who are involved in that. Even if you put IEBC anew, as the clamor is going on and the motion was put in parliament and now the tribunal is formed, because they are Kenyans, they are obligated to change allegiance. Even if this person was yours this time, he might not be your person the other time. So it's not a 100% guarantee that you're going to get the best that you wanted. The only thing you can do in this issue, dealing with human beings and element of politics and governance, is how do you negotiate? For example, Dr. William Ruto today, the President of the Republic of Kenya, came in as the head of the government now. But in the element of the functions of the government, there are people who have been there, the civil servants. Many expect an automatic delivery from his side. But he and Mheshimiwa knows so well, you have to negotiate with these people who have been there so that you can give the mandate to the people and deliver to the actuals that you had promised. So it's not a walk in the park. The same way you pick IEBC on calling them your people. They might deliver the mandate or they might deliver you to where you want, but mostly what you do with them is that you negotiate. Now the challenge is you pick your people who in their hearts are not as you think they are. Okay, then along the way, halfway they change allegiance or alliance, because it can happen, because we are going to see a crop of leaders. Actually 70%, and Mheshimiwa would bear me witness, of parliamentarians don't come back. So even the people who voted for this current government might not vote for him come 2027. And some of the people who will be picked now, because of the excitement of what is going to happen, might change allegiance going to 2027. What does that mean? It is even better for now, for any negotiation that is going to be there. And Mheshimiwa is here, is listening to us, you and I, because we mandated them to go to parliament and as an arm of the government to do the best, and Mheshimiwa is doing the best. Pick from the people that you even expect that they're not supporting you. Because once they know what kind of a person there is, and I picked that from the Abraham Lincoln's element of leadership, those people who really don't support you might be a better friend of you than the one who you work with daily. Because they actually have not worked with you, but they have seen the loopholes that you need to seal. So in IEBC, and putting IEBC in place right now, let it not be a complete composition of the people who support the government now. Let's have experts who have the element of governing an election through the constitution that can deliver to Kenyans, not to the president or to the Waheshimiwas or to the interest they are invested. Yeah, that could be my take.
And Mheshimiwa, let's now switch gears a little bit in regards to keeping your Kenya Kwanza government in check. Something that has happened is that we didn't expect what happened by President William Ruto saying that he is supporting the establishment of the office of the leader of official opposition. That is one thing that a lot of people didn't expect from the government. And another thing is supporting demonstrations in regards to keeping the government in check in matters electoral, in matters governance. This is something, there's a paradigm shift in how we are doing politics.
Let me remind you one thing. The only organized sober president we may be having is Dr. Ruto. Let me give you reasons.
Yes.
Having an opposition office, he is trying to structure the government now. Remember, as we speak currently, we have a president. Now the loser, who is the second immediate follower, he has no office, he has nothing to do. That's why we are seeing now, as early as after 4 months to after election, we are starting having rallies. Are you seeing the logic? Now, developing an office of the opposition leader is trying to structure the opposition party and its members to do checks and balances with this government. Now, in that way, they will be busy. In that way, remember, the same government will be paying them. But for now, you see, without a handshake, Raila should be in the streets, which is very wrong. Not only that, in the future, it's good, remember the BBI, even if it was never come to, it's a dream which never come to be realized. It had a lot of changes in the constitution. If you see now what the president is trying to do, is picking the most critical elements that changes our country that to be amended. I can give you an example. We are trying to develop remember we are having challenges in gender issues. We don't attain the requirement of gender in port houses. Now, if we can anchor that in the constitution, remember last parliament, Maraga declared a constitutional parliament. That thing still is there, remember? If we cannot solve this, such a small errors, we'll be working unconstitutionally to me. Now, by initiating, the president cannot initiate a process of constitutional amendment. But by, for example, myself, I have a bill. I want to do an amendment of counties. I want Kisii County is a very big county, has 9 constituencies. By carving some of the constituencies to form a county, which is Gucha, that will affect an amendment in the constitution. We have CDF. As we speak now, CDF, we are trying to struggle. CDF is not here nor there. Now we want to make it, at least it's now a fund which is anchored in the constitution. We have had several constitution amendments which are rising. In that connection, as a good normal person, let's create an opposition office that once the second runner-up has lost direction, he will be having an office, he will be organizing himself, he will be having now a structured way of working with these opposition party members to check, to make sure that the government is working to attain what he promised to the Kenyans. That's my suggestion.
Allow me to interject just a little bit, Mheshimiwa, and allow me to disagree with you about two things that you've mentioned there. One is the soberness of the president. Number two is the issue of the opposition note, or the opposition office. Remember, if, and with all due respect to my president, if he's a sober most president that Kenya has ever had,
very sober,
we have had the BBI. The BBI had proposed the opposition leader office with all the mandate. But instead of supporting it, and the president has been in the government for the last 29 years, he opposed it. Now, the reality has hit in and realized, I cannot govern this country if I don't keep my opposition leader in check and provide him with an avenue where he can be putting things across. Because today, if there could be people on the street, this country cannot govern. So in terms of soberness, he will acquire it, but not that he has it. Now, on the, if I remind you, when this country, and we were celebrating Jamhuri the other day, what was it?
The day before yesterday.
The day before yesterday. This country was formed 59 years ago. And what by people who went to the bush, they fought for independence. There are people who went to school and schooled matters governance. They were not picked from anywhere. And we have the top cream, people who were there and who led this country into a way that it was compared to Asian tigers by them. Then we can say those people were sober people. And their interests were not on their own. And I would share with Mheshimiwa, say, Mheshimiwa is a very humble person. And everyone knows, and he has mentioned it here. But most of the people that are in the government today, it is the issue of, do you know anybody? Okay? And that is where, us who were in Azimio, and we are supporting this government, we disagree totally. Because when you look at the opposition leader, had the BBI gone through, and remember, the president has no mandate to initiate a constitutional amendment.
And even the Apex Court did say that.
Exactly. So in soberness, soberness calls in for the memory check. What did I say the other time? What did I say the other year? What did I say 5 years ago? So that if it is about soberness, he will initiate a person like Kamau, who actually did vote for him, and tell Kamau, we need to change this constitution because you need an opposition. Number two, what is this now rush of giving people positions, and Wanjiku has not been served? Because when we were doing campaign, the Kenya Kwanza government told us, hii serikali itakuwa ni ya mama mboga, mwana boda boda. Those are the people we want into the seats, not the opposition leaders. And we are saying that, Mheshimiwa, because we want to see an element of those people who are downtrodden, understanding the governance of this country, being encouraged to note and come in the place of power. Because I tell you, where I'm seated today with Mheshimiwa, with all the due respect and honor, I can access power easily than the person who is at Buda Buda. So what am I saying? Let's not go for the opposition leader. Let's not give him an office. That money or that economy that is being channeled to him, let him do what, because our constitution does not provide that seat. Let's work with Wanjiku, period. And when Wanjiku is served, Wanjiku will even say, we need now a president, an opposition leader, a prime minister, and such. So, Mheshimiwa, when you look at this matter that are cropping it now, that's why I said 70% of the people who voted for this government might not vote for the government. So what am I saying? Let's work with Wanjiku. Let's work with what we have now, and not rush to amend the constitution or bills in parliament that will even hurt the economy more, because people are suffering. Today, the petroleum industry, the products are up. The cost of living, the unga that was presented, that will be 70% once the president lifts us the Bible, it has hit 200. And we are going to Christmas. People have no food. Yesterday I was watching Mount Elgon, people living in a cave, and we are talking about doing opposition leader post.
Okay.
Mheshimiwa,
Before Mheshimiwa.
I want to disagree with him.
Okay, fine. You can have that. That's okay.
Just few seconds. Number one, the BBI itself, the component of it, some elements were good, but most of it were bad. I can give you an example. The BBI suggested in the Kisii region, in terms of constituencies, to divide only one constituency, whereby most of the constituencies like Bobasi, they are the leading in terms of population. They were not dividing Bobasi, but they were dividing another constituency. It was not a genuine document. Personally, I read it last time. The better part of BBI was not good.
But Mheshimiwa, in Parliament you voted yes, right?
No, let me tell you. The reason why it never came to light at the end of the day, because it was not a good document. What the president now is doing is just identifying critical areas. Remember, the only office he may be creating is the opposition leader. But
it should
BBI,
not, because
the BBI had a lot of offices. But another thing I want to tell him, let me tell you why I tell you Dr. Ruto is the soberness we have. He's a person who understands what the Kenyan common mwananchi wants. Look at the few 100 days, I can call him 100 days in the office. The reason why we have high fuel cost in Kenya, it was created by the last government. The subsidy that's supposed to be going to the production side is given at the end of the product. For example, I want to pick unga. The last government had subsidy in the unga, but you see the current government has removed that one to fertilize. What does it mean? Yeah, he wants for Kenyans to produce more for future, not to. We don't lack food in future.
I think, yes, indeed, he has said that. But it has also raised some eyebrows in terms of the maize that our farmers are actually farming. Because the day before yesterday, he did talk about 10 million bags of assorted maybe cereals and foodstuffs.
But those are errors which can be rectified.
Indeed. But, you know, when the president says that word has to go, and even his MPs from the Kenya Kwanza divide, they had a presser to say that government, you really need, first of all, to buy our maize before we can think about exportation. It's something that brews some heat.
Of
and
course,
even the president had to, your PGM had to say, guys, don't be swayed, because this is one of the things that can sway that.
Remember, we are human beings, we are born to make mistakes. Importation of maize, I was here categorically saying, let's force the government to purchase maize from farmers of Kenya. Once we maximize, we utilize the available resources we have within our country, if it becomes less, then we can import. So
your sentiments are, first of all, let's buy all the maize
let's buy from farmers.
Before we can think about...
Yes, let the farmers benefit from the fruits of the government they voted for before we think of importing from another country. That's the reason why you saw some members of parliament supporting that thing. Remember, that was a statement which came from the from the minister in charge. But at long last, at the end of the tail, it was suspended.
Okay,
just 1 minute. Just 1 minute, so I work with Mheshimiwa. Mheshimiwa has said that BBI was not good because Kisii was getting one.
He said some of the parts were good.
It cannot be. It cannot be. It is not good when it does not serve the interest. If we were to negotiate about the office of the opposition leader, we, the Mount Kenya region, we want to have one man, one vote, 1 shilling. Then we can pass this thing. That's what I wanted to say.
Okay, for now, let's now bring in Engineer Crispus Wadiwa, who is an expert in matters governance. And okay, I'm informed by my director, you need to rectify something. But before we do that, Engineer, as we await for the technical hit to be rectified, I would like you to marinate on the issue of the leader of official opposition. It's a good thing that the two gentlemen here have a diverse view on that. It's not enshrined in the Constitution, but the president has pledged to support that, just to underscore how he wants his government to be put in check. Kindly. And also we also be looking at the IEBC reforms, which yesterday IEBC said during their post-election post-mortem, said that the weak link is Bunge. And it's a good thing that Mheshimiwa has also observed that in 2020, when CJ Emeritus David Maraga said that this bunge is unconstitutional because it hasn't met the threshold of the constitution. But that we'll be talking about that. Mheshimiwa, you want you are supporting the establishment of that office that is not in the constitution, and Kamau argues that this will also bring in an additional cost for the taxpayer, because by being an office it means that you have to have all the echelons of power.
Let me tell you one thing, two wrongs will never make a right. He introduced us something like BBI, but now BBI gone. We cannot talk about it.
It's a done deal.
Now,
we can only refer.
Currently, what we are trying to do is to structure the future government. We are trying to, the president wants to solve problems we are experiencing. I give you an example. It's just 4 months down the track, but we are experiencing some political hits, some political rallies from an unstructured way. If we have this office in place, remember now, when the president is ascending to power in office, the opposition leader will be having an office. He will be organizing things from office in a structured way, anchored in the law, structured, protected by the law. Note that can you compare now and when you have that office? To me, the office will solve a lot of messes in future. We are trying to look what will happen in the future generation. We are trying to avoid, I give you an example, that the only disputed elections is only president. The entire period, the entire positions which we do elections, starting from MCA to governors, once somebody has been announced, you go to court. If you lose, nothing more, nothing less. Then wait for the next time. But for a president, it always have problems in, out, day in. For us to solve that one, let's create an office for anybody who will be losing as an opposition leader to have an office, to organize himself from that office, check the government well,
when you
make sure that
when you look at it,
yes, John.
And I'm just saying in simple manner, because I'll be coming to you when I want to do a private member bill, because I know you will listen to me. What I'm saying is this: let's have the opposition leader's office. It will solve so many things in terms of governance and economy. But there's one thing that it will not solve. When we were doing BBI, and you're a part of the BBI, it was said, when we solve the issue of 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote, you won't mind, or the country won't mind who is the president, who is the opposition leader, because Wanjiku, from where they sit, they will be served well. But now, if we don't solve this idea of 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling, even if we have 100 opposition leaders and the president, every other community will be, and that's what President Uhuru Kenyatta used to say, every other community will be looking upon who is their president, who is at
one man, one vote, not the best.
All right. Gentlemen, wow, it's quite generating a debate. But first of all, let's take a quick break, just in case you joined us. I'm joined by 3 gentlemen. We are looking at the state of the nation and especially politics in the country. And also, we will be looking on the second hour at the USA-Africa relations on a keen view, because it started yesterday, today, and also tomorrow. Just a way of the United States galvanizing their support. I will be telling you more about it when we come back. But for now, let's have that quick break.
History is beckoning. Ball down on the right side. Oh, Ricardo Horta didn't get to do anything with it. And it's Ronaldo who was setting it up, and the shot is carved, sets it up, and then Ronaldo did it even better for Joao Felix. Oh no, with that touch. That looks like magic. 8 minutes of added time, and Ronaldo almost changes the scoreline here from just a single touch. Ronaldo almost gets the better of Bono. A quick ball up at the front, in between 2 defenders. A fast touch and a shot towards goal, Jacob.
Bono again here stopping Cristiano Ronaldo from getting into the score sheet here. Bono has done a commendable job for the Moroccan side for sure.
Three and a half minutes remaining in regular time. Good header out. This will begin out for a foul. Lazio Vitinha gets a yellow card as well.
The second half substitute on the Portugal side gets himself into the referee's books.
Oh, Chedira, he already has a yellow card.
That's a red card.
Oh, well, I think the referee was just thinking that he's a little bit too casual in his tackles. I just talked about worrying about what he's doing at the moment. And Chedira gets 2 yellow cards in the shortest of times. Has been sent off. Well, there it is.
Quite unnecessary from Chedira, knowing that he had another yellow card. That was a big risk.
Well, I just said it, that at this time you...
Welcome back. This is KBC News Check, and during our break we're having a discussion here with my panelists, and you have seen that today we are having a big match, that is the great Morocco, who will be fighting it out for the last final slot with the world champions themselves, the World Cup finalists in 2019, that is the great country of France. Remember, that match will be live on all our radio stations and also on KBC Channel 1, so make a date. But for now, we are looking at the state of the nation, and also we'll be looking at the US-Africa Summit. A lot is being mooted and a lot has been discussed already, but today and tomorrow will culminate into a number of activities which we will be looking at a little bit later. But for now, we are looking at the state of the nation right here in the country. And joining me, Alpha Miruka, who is the MP for Bomachoge Chache. We have also Engineer Crispus Wadhimba, who is a governance expert, and also Kamau, who is also a political commentator. And gentlemen, before the break, we were looking at a number of issues in the country, and especially on the office of the official opposition leader. And Crispus, I would like to engage you in that conversation. It's something that my panelists here, one supports, the other one says, well, we do not need that office right now. But what is evident is that even the president himself supports the idea of having the leader of official opposition, despite the fact that it's not quite enshrined in law. There are a number of ways that we can also make that happen. I would like to pick your mind on that.
Thank you, Sananjui, and good morning, Kenyans. For me, I think I've had a chance to interrogate this constitution previously when I was part of the Punguza Mizigo movement. And one of the issues that we were trying to address when we were pushing for the Punguza Mizigo is having constitutional offices that are not controlled by who is president or who is in government at the time, but there are offices that can be able to work for the interest of the Kenyans regardless of which administration is in place. And one of the offices that we found that was missing was the office of the official opposition. And that role probably is supposed to be played by the minority leader in parliament. But as you've seen with the experience we had last year of where, or the last time we had the opposition joined government through the handshake, and that killed the role of the official opposition or the minority leader. And therefore, it's important that we have a properly constituted properly mandated office of the official opposition, so that whoever will want to support government, there will be now a vacancy created for a person who will be able to check government, whether the opposition wants to work with the government. If you move, then that office becomes vacant, and a person who is constitutionally mandated to be the opposition leader is able to occupy it, so that the government of the day is able to be checked. Without any checks and balances, we'll have the same problems we had in the Jubilee handshake administration, where the government did whatever it was able to do because nobody was able to check it. And even those who were claiming to be the opposition, who are part of government, didn't have the mandate, the constitutional mandate to check the government. And therefore, it's important right now we have a government that is the opposition that is able to check the government, and that position is in the constitution in a way that whatever statements they make or demands they make, the government has a responsibility to fulfill them or to look into them. We have an issue of hunger today. We have an issue of cost of living today. But the only voice we hear about from the opposition is about Cherera and IEBC. We are not hearing them make enough noise about the issue of food and the cost of living.
And it's a good thing that Engineer brought about some of the things that the president did talk about in terms of the office, because there are now, 91 days since Kenya Kwanza took over government?
Almost 100 days.
Almost 100 days. And just like Kamau said, we were expecting, in terms of governance, we were expecting the president to actualize his words where he talked about the government being for the Mamamboga and for the Jamaa and Nduthi. And I remember somebody said, more or less it was a figure of speech, but I said, they are Mamambogas wamesoma. They are border guys who are learned. They have degrees themselves, but they have not even been included, and we are 100 days. We were waiting for at least a cabinet slot for the common mwananchi, for the Wanjiku. That never happened. We have seen the PSs, the PSs now they have already taken office. They had even been challenged. That petition had been taken to court in regards to regional balance, gender, or the affirmative action, but that was not actualized. It's 91 days, Mheshimiwa. It's just a week, and then we will have a big scorecard to look at what you've done in 100 days.
Let me tell you, you have done a lot. If you don't see them, they are not kidding.
You're saying the glass is half full, but it's still half empty.
The Kenya Kwanza government has implemented that. Let me remind you a few.
Yes.
It just recently, as we speak now, we have Hustlers Fund, which is the best idea. Let me tell you.
But we really need for it to sink in, because it hasn't really touched the ground.
I'm telling you, in 10 days, in 10 days, more than 15 million Kenyans have been registered.
You believe that the Hustler Fund will keep up the tempo? But
it will keep up the tempo. Take it from me, let me tell you.
We have seen the Youth Fund. We have seen a lot of funds which have not quite done what they were supposed to do.
But remember the difference between this and the Youth Fund and the other funds. These are revolving fund with an interest which keeps on maintaining this fund to eternity. Let me tell you one thing.
Fine, fair enough. It's quite early to demonize it.
It's quite early.
Yeah.
But remember, that's one promise which has been accomplished. Before, it has been accomplished. As we speak now, farmers are receiving fertilizer. We have received Hustlers Fund. Every now cabinet, I can call now the structure of the government is almost 90% complete. This the time now you start experiencing the effects of this government. But in 100 days, I can count for you. For example, you see in fact, every week, the Minister for ICT is opening a free Wi-Fi in every market in Nairobi. We are trying to create a super highway for internet. We are trying to digitize this country. By the end of specific period, call it 6 months or 1 year, 90% of government operations will be digital. That's what I'm telling you. The only sober president we have now is Dr. Ruto. The man who understands the problem of Kenyan Mwananchi. I want to cite an example of the president we had called the late Mwai Kibaki. Mwai Kibaki is the one who introduced CDF. Mwai Kibaki is the president who made Kenyans realize that we can be rich, we can be able to afford, we can be able to do business with the government. He outsourced every government aspect compared to the government of Moi. The government of Moi was doing everything. If we had the presidents who are coming like the mind of Kibaki, this Kenya, let me tell you, in 20 years' time will be more than South Korea. If you have the history of South Korea, we were the same level in 1960s. But now South Korea is 100 times ahead of us because of structured way, implementing things, doing things in a very professional way. In 100 days, with this Kenya Kwanza government, we have done a lot.
Kamau, you wanted to chip in before Mheshimiwa had completed. It must have been something that you see Kenya Kwanza hasn't done yet.
My good friend Mheshimiwa want us to take a gospel home. And this gospel that you want us to take home is that President William Ruto, our current president, is the most sober president. You keep on repeating that, it might not go well. What the president needs to do now is to negotiate with entire country. Negotiate with them, tell them in soberness, like you're saying, in soberness, this is what I want to do, this is what I've managed to do, data are there to see, but not to assume that what he says or what he has said or you, the Kenya Kwanza government supporters are saying is what the real Wanjiku want. We are living in a time where Wanjiku is not a person you tell, I'll bring you internet and say that is what I wanted. I'll give you fertilizer. That is what I wanted. The reason why the Jubilee government, which President Ruto was part of it, actually was the second in command, is because it came in with a lot of infrastructure. Kenya is so well versed in infrastructure. Kenya is so well versed in internet that is saying every village has a fiber connection. That was through the advantage of President Uhuru Kenyatta in the aid of Deputy President then William Ruto. What am I saying?
Let me inject.
Let me finish this statement so I don't lose there, because I want. I'm actually trying to get an entry on how I can support your government, which is trying so hard to explain on the things that it wants to do. This hustler fund, the Bible says that we all quote that a person who lends to you, you've become a lender. Is somehow you are the slave of person who lends you money. Hustler fund is good, but this hustler fund needs to actualize a way that when you get it at the first time, you can be in a position of advancing your life. I can tell you what hustler fund did and is as a frame now is just a trial and error. It is not well thought structure. In terms
with all fairness, maybe we can wait for
exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
After 3 months.
That's what I'm saying. Mheshimiwa, let us not hear that President Ruto, who is on the throne now, is the most sober one. Because I'll take you back to Jomo Kenyatta. Jomo Kenyatta and those element of leaders who are there, Akina Simon Nyachai, Akina Jenga, all those people, they did all they could so this country in silence that can be where it is today, because it needed a firm foundation. That is what we are sitting on. But when we see a celebration like Jamhuri Day, instead of elementing what this country has been and what we are building on, we are seeing some comedies around, and we are valuing people from outside and not forgetting the leaders, forgetting our heroes. We are losing grounds in terms of foundation. Anyway, if we move from the foundation of this country to other foundations trying to make it now, we may have a loose ground. So am I saying, let's build on what has been. Let's improve on that. That is what will give us soberness. Not when we start now doing other foundation or who are heroes in terms of our as an African or as Kenyans or as a region, so that we can move forward. But this idea of picking this and putting it, saying about internet, saying about Google, saying these things are not bringing us foundation. These things are not going to grow our youth.
Lily wants to differ with you on that. There's something that you wanted to interject,
yes.
And you have the opportunity now.
Yeah, I wanted to tell him, his idea is very right. But there is no way you will work in this country without an internet. Most of young people depend on internet. We have areas in this country that people don't have internet at all. We have, the reason why is trying to say that the last government did a lot of connectivity. I can ask you, maybe here in Central, the mountain is always blessed. But if you go to other places, my friend, you find there is a school that students learn on a tree. If students are learning on a tree, that means they don't afford even a classroom. What does it mean? we are now developing. We are now making things to happen. The only difference, I'm telling you, why I call Dr. Ruto as a sober guy, is seeing these problems. And is trying to manipulate a technology or a methodology that is going to solve these critical problems affecting the common mwananchi. That's why he started with the Hustlers Fund. Let me tell you, be a member of Hustlers Fund. Because as an individual, you are supposed to borrow up to 50,000 as your credit history. Let me tell you, we have a lot of things happening. Including Frisa now, including you, I don't know, every Kenyan is in Frisa, but do you know how much Frisa is taxing per month? It's a lot of money. Now we have given an alternative that why are you borrowing 10,000 from Frisa, borrow 10,000 from Hustlers Fund, do the business, refund it after 7 days, 14 days, and again your credit value will keep on growing.
We actually hoping. Let's hear what Crispus has to say in regards to the scorecard. We are doing 91 days or thereabout. We are shy of maybe a week and some days to hit 100 days, and there are things that the government did promise that they will actualize within 100 days. I would like to pick your mind on how the scorecard has been. We've had a few issues here and there. Mheshimiwa talking about, yes, we are family on course, but Kamau is talking about how we may have misplaced priorities.
I think for this administration, we probably might be too early to judge them because of the timelines that we are looking at. But I think also there are some deliverables. For example, the issue of fertilizer that has been delivered, the issue of the Hustler Fund. But the thing we cannot be able to determine is the impact of these deliverables to the lives of many Kenyans. The one thing we are very sure is that the cost of fuel is still high, and the cost of living is very high, which is something that they promised to deliver, but they haven't done that. Kenyans have given them a bit of room to say we are not able because of 1 and 2 and 3. But I think that window is shutting down. And probably as early as February next year, Kenyans will not take any excuse. They will be looking for real results, because if it's an issue of fertilizer, then we expect a harvest as early next year from the fertilizer you gave us in August and September. If it's the issue of Hustler Fund, we want to see some lives having improved because of the money they have received from the Hustler Fund, and therefore when it comes to January and February, Kenyans may be able to sustain their living from the benefits of the Hustler Fund. So the window for that tolerance that Kenyans have in terms of this government not being able to deliver is closely shutting down. The other thing also is that the administration is just probably a few days now in full formation with the PSs coming into place. So we need to give them time to be able to now sit down and align the vision of the president, who is the vision bearer, and his men and women who are going to deliver on that. So there are many pronouncements being made. There are many things being perceived to be done, but now the tangible benefits of whatever we are perceiving has not yet come around. So Kenyans still need to give this a bit of time, but that time is really running out of place. Yes.
And I'll come back to Mheshimiwa, because looking at the 100 days, and it's a good thing engineer has mentioned that we might be judging the government, but the government really needs time. Let us look at the opposition. In as much as we are talking about we need to establish the office of the official opposition leader, in your view, has the opposition played their oversight role well? Because some Kenyans would argue, other than castigating the importation of maize, and also in urging, we've seen the opposition urging the Kenyans not to repay the Hustler funds. In your view as Mheshimiwa, has the opposition in those 100 days played their oversight role the way they should?
To me, 0%. I can term them. We are an unfortunate country that we are having all the time opposition that is very selfish.
Okay, kindly hold the thought as we look at how the opposition is. We really need to have that quick break, but we'll be right back. Remember, this is KBC News Check.
the excitement. Relish every moment. Get 1.5 GB at 50 bob, valid for 3 hours. Furahia futa, dial *544#. Make Chaguo smarter na Airtel, the most affordable network.
Make transactions anywhere in the world with the NCBA Visa card and stand a chance to win big. Join the FIFA World Cup 2022 when you win an all-expenses-paid trip for you and your +1 to watch 2 games. Or win exciting weekly prizes that will make your FIFA viewing experience super duper. All it takes is a swipe or a tap to pay 2,000 Kenya shillings or more with your NCBA Visa debit or credit card. The more you swipe or tap to pay, the higher your chances of winning with 1 point for every 2,000 Kenya shillings spent. Don't miss out. NCBA. Go for it.
Kupata Waibrania kama skiza tune yako, bonyeza *811 *817#.
Yesu Kristo ni yule yule, jana, leo na hata milele. Wahibrania 13:8.
Kupata Waibrania, bonyeza *811 *817#. *811 *817#.
Karibuni sana, karibuni. Niwauzie?
Ugali matumbo batia mimi.
Ugali matumbo!
Nilikuwa nataka kaomena na kadoma.
Customer, usijali, chakula yako tutakutengenezea kwa ajili yako tu.
Maisha yako, mapendeleo yako. Tunukiwa na Safaricom. Chagua bei yako ya kupiga simu au data. Piga *444# au utembelee My Safaricom app upate deal poa ya kupiga simu. Uongee zaidi au browse zaidi.
Nataka chapati na crips.
Mala sausage. Nataka ugali na
Welcome back to KBC News Check, and I can't re-emphasize enough that all African eyes will be on Morocco as they face world champions France. That a tantalizing match that you cannot afford to miss. Remember, it will be live on KBC. World Cup equal KBC. Something else that is on KBC is the live conversation that we are having here with my panelists, which is becoming more interesting as we move on. And before the short break, we were looking at the role of opposition in 100 days that Kenya Kwanza, almost 100 days that Kenya Kwanza has been in office. And of course, we'll also be touching on devolution and the US-Africa Summit that is happening thousands of miles away, but it's gonna be affecting you, even if you live in the remotest part of Kenya or Africa as well. Let me remind you, my panelists, we have Alpha Miruka, Honorable Alpha Miruka Mheshimiwa is the MP for Bomachoge Chache. We have Kamau, who is a leadership and governance expert, and also we have Engineer Crispas Wadimba, who is a leadership and governance expert as well. Before we had the break, Mheshimiwa, I had asked you in regards to checking Kenya Kwanza government. Do you believe the opposition has done what it should have done in 90 days? We have seen a number of pronouncements by the opposition talking about the war. Of course, they have vehemently opposed the GMO importation in the country. They have also talked about, they advised their Kenyans for the hustler fans, you know, those are some of the pronouncements that have been made in the last 90 days.
I think we may be unlucky as a country. We have not found a good opposition side. An opposition side is an opposition side managing the affairs of the common mwananchi. But the current opposition party we have now, if I call him an intimidating opposition. Why? Is there to make sure that he's trying to fault the government, abuse the government, for the government to call them. Once they are being called and they are being shared the cake under the table, they will keep quiet. And I want to give you an example. In the last parliament, the era was very vibrant. But after the handshake, we had no opposition. We had a government come opposition government. If you see now, the Right Honorable Dr. Ruto, he has said there's no handshake. That means the opposition cannot eat from the government. Now they are trying to craft a method that how can we boost this government for us to get food from there? That's my view. But we should be having a opposition side that should check, monitor the government affairs, that to make sure that common mwananchi is getting what it deserves. The promises that the government made during campaign, are they being implemented in the right way? Everything the government is doing, how does it affect the common mwananchi? That's the opposition we need. Not the opposition that once I make noise, I'll be called in the office. There is a under the table negotiations, then I keep quiet.
And
to
in
me,
your view,
we don't have an opposition.
What exactly have they been objective in so far?
They are very selective. For example, now they are very serious about the Chereras, the commissioners, because the Chereras were from their side. If you keenly listen to what they are arguing, you cannot get the reason. We should be fighting, all of us, both the government and the opposition, having an independent body that will solve problems of which emerges in every direction. But now we are fighting that the Cherera should not go, Cherera should not resign. You see, the idea, the small things that we are fighting for, they are not affecting the entire system in the government.
But let us look at something that Kenyans could say that the opposition has been objective in, and that is the importation of GMO. A lot of Kenyans, both in the political divide, have varied or diverse views in regards to the GMOs. And the opposition was the first to say, no. The trade minister cannot do that. The government cannot be importing GMOs. First of all, they had health concerns. And another thing, they had concerns because this maize is being imported at a time when our farmers are also harvesting.
Let me tell you, it's going to tell me that don't drink this water. Give me reasons why. This water is bad. Explain to me for me to understand not to drink this water. Let me... Right Honorable Raila Odinga is the guy in record who was supporting GMO very well. But because now the current government has lifted the ban of GMO and they have now decided to accepting the importation of GMO, automatically will come to the opposition side of opposing. Let him oppose with the reasons why. He should explain to us what made the GMOs be banned. What was the reasons? Categorically, even the common man will see, this GMO is bad. The government is doing a mistake. That's what I am expecting to have. But not that because you are in the government, your idea is yes, then I should come to know. No. Let's have reasons why we are saying anything we utter from our mouths.
Is there a way that you can say that, or something that the opposition has been objective in, and what in a between 1 and 10 scorecard?
I can give them 2%.
2%
for the living. For example, the fuel. I can agree with the engineer saying that fuel, still we are living in hard times economically. Our food prices are high. The fuel prices are not low. Even if we have tried, the president has tried to bring a fertilizer to boost production, to remove subsidy from fuel. But you see the living standards, Kenyans are really struggling. Now, the challenge here, that let's give the government time to evaluate critically, because remember, the last government made a lot of damages into the government. We are in debts. Let me tell you today, we collect around 2 trillion Kenyan shillings. You find all the money Kenyans, the government collects from Kenya, it 100% go to the current and debts. That means, how can we going to survive? That's the reason why we must pray for the current president to be very creative, very innovative, for this country to move ahead. If now we find an opposition that is assisting the government in terms of checks and balances to make sure that this country will never remain the same, let me tell you, in 20 years' time, Kenya will be very shiny.
All right. The opposition, and you had supported Azimio, and I'm quite sure there are some remnants of Azimio in your system. So how would you rate the opposition? How have they been in the last 90 days? We're talking about close to 100 days. And in 100 days, the government should be put in check. What would you say, what are your views in regards to how the opposition has conducted itself in their mandate to oversight the government?
Thank you. Before I answer that from your level, I want to interject a bit about what Mheshimiwa has said. Mheshimiwa has said he can only rate them at about 2%. And the same opposition are the same they are proposing to give an office. So when they are not doing their mandate and all they want is to just charge the government so that can get something. What expectation or what results are you going to get if you give them an office? And when you give them an office, giving them an office because you have not done what they can do or that they are doing until the time they restructure themselves into doing good, Mheshimiwa. Because if you say they are not doing anything and the government is doing something, so there is no need for any opposition leader's office.
Giving them 2%, they are doing something,
all right.
But they should scale up in a good direction.
Exactly. But that won't come because you've given them an office. Because from your part, the opposition, they had interest with the government. That is why they wanted to join the government. The current government had interest with the government. That's why they managed to join the government. There is what they are mandating. There is what they are delivering to the people. And that must be only left to the Wanjiko, not to serve the leaders. That is my position. And I cannot talk much about the opposition and what they can do and what they've done, because currently, I'm not in the opposition. My current MCA is UDA. My MP is UDA. My senator is UDA. My women rep is UDA. My senator is UDA. And my president is what? UDA. What does that mean? I'm in Kenya Kwanza umbrella, though you can say I have got Azimio blood in me, I'm well served. And what I need to do, extending from there, is to the interest of the people of Kangema, Muranga, and Mount Kenya region. And the plot that is there, when you join the government, them who are from other regions, they want Mount Kenya to wait on them, as he had said, that there are places where there are no schools, but they need internet. What am I saying? I'm saying this: where Mount Kenya region interest is served well through our kingpin now, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, there I will be. And if there is anything that is being done against our interest as the people of Mount Kenya, there I will say that is not supposed to be. For example, this opposition leader office, and I repeat it again, if you match it with 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote, we the Mount Kenya people, even who are not in the government, we will wholly support it. Now, when it comes to giving them seats and you're not serving the majority of Wanjiko in Mount Kenya, there I will disagree with the government. And that is why I have to keep on saying, my president, Dr. William Ruto, here, the issues of Mount Kenya, from where I see it, comes first. The issues of the country comes second, are secondary to the affairs. The issue of fertilizer, it has not gotten into a law cause. So when the fertilizer gets into the country and where it goes, we need to know where it's going. This hustler fund, the people of Mount Kenya are really hustlers because they do small small business. But instead of telling Kenyans, I will rate you the wholesomely that you can only get 500, rate them according to the credit banking statement they have. Say you can get 10,000 for the start, so that can make you advance your life. But if I give you 500 without rating you, and I give you that money, that is why the other day the president was saying it's only a percentage that has not come back, but it will come back. Ideally, the government is doing the best, because from where I come from my constituency, we can see what the government is doing and the framework that it has put to work. But that does not mean that we don't need an opposition. And Mheshimiwa here is saying the opposition are just charging so that they can see what they can be given. Mheshimiwa, that is not a very good attitude towards the people who wanted to join the government. Because today, the only person who can say that Nairobi won't operate is Raila Amolo Odinga. That gift to him. So how do we need to work with him along? Is one, appreciate his effort. That he did 6.9 million. And the current government got 7.2 squarely.
That's why we give him an office.
No. You give him an office
in charge, and
just
he
know
will be looking
that
at
behind him, even if they don't have the instrument of power, at least rate them at 5%.
Okay, let's hear from engineer on the other side. And engineer, we are looking at 100 days. And we are almost 100 days. But first I would like you to rate the opposition, and are they being quite objective in the last 90 plus days in oversighting the government? We have seen the views in regards to the high cost of living. They want the subsidies back, and I'm quite sure a lot of Kenyans would want that. And they're also talking about the maize. They have issues with the GMO maize and also importation of maize in the country, the scorecard of opposition, which is keeping Kenya Kwanza in check as we also look at also the counties, because the counties have hit already 100 days, but we have a big challenge in counties. Engineer.
Well, I think looking at the performance of the opposition, maybe just allow me to go to specific areas where I felt they did well or they did badly. When it came to vetting of CSSs, I feel the minority position did very well in terms of interrogating and bringing out the other side of the nominees so that Kenyans would be able to know what kind of nominees were being nominated to be CSS. And they even had a dissenting position, which was very clear and very good, demonstrated their leadership as the opposition. When it comes to the issue of the GMO, I think Raila and Kalonzo and Martha Karua came out strongly against it. What they did not really demonstrate is that they did not oppose it because of scientific issues, but they fought it because of interest. There were people saying there was already maize at the shores of Mombasa, and why are you saying we are importing maize right now because already you have brought it? We lost the real issues as to why we were opposing GMO or the possible challenges that GMO would bring to the country, and looked at the political interest as to why they were opposing GMO. Then the other area where I feel they have failed is on the issue of cost of living and fuel. Because there, the government of the day had promised clearly, the moment I put the Bible down, cost of living will come down. But that voice, we never felt it, we never had it, we don't see the opposition really coming out strongly. Unfortunately, the only area we have seen them come out very strongly was on the Cherera 4, which now makes us feel uncomfortable that we had an IEBC clearly which was not independent. There were members of the commission who are affiliated to Azimio, and they are members of the IEBC who are probably affiliated to the government of the day. So that really did not give us confidence in terms of the kind of opposition we have or the kind of government we would have had if Azimio had won, meaning they did not believe in independent institutions. And therefore I want to agree with the Mheshimiwa when he says they are also opposing just that they be given something so that they can keep quiet. What I'm looking forward to is a country where if you become opposition, you adhere to the values of being an opposition person. And you subscribe to them to the very end, until the point where you will convince Kenyans to vote you to be in government. We need to have people, men and women, that when they occupy an office, they subscribe to the values of that office. If you're a member of a certain commission, subscribe to the value of that office so that we can be able to trust institutions. Today, we can't trust our opposition because if they are given something, they will just keep quiet, and that's very unfortunate. And we need an effective opposition, we need an effective media, an effective civil society that can be able to check this government. We may think Ruto is sober, but the men and women behind him may not be sober. They may have excesses of their own, and we will end up with a rogue government. And I think it's important that we have an opposition so that it can also help Ruto to weed out bad elements within his government that he may not be able to see.
Yes, and we are looking at least almost 100 days that the Kenya Kwanza government has been in power. But also, we are also looking at how the other counties are faring. At least they've hit 100 days, right?
Yes.
Because the governors were sworn in before the president was sworn in. And looking at some counties are doing quite well. They have each and every organ of the government working well. But looking at Meru is one example that a lot of politics could be detrimental to development. And another county, incidentally, the newest kid on the block, the newest city in the country, Nakuru County, yes. They haven't started out. The first start so far. And even the courts have pronounced themselves on the same. How are we doing in terms of counties? Because that also cascades to what is happening in the national government.
You know, a good leader is measured by how he or she manages stakeholders. The governor for Meru, the governor for Nakuru clearly have demonstrated their inability to manage stakeholders. For the sake of Meru is just an issue of how do you manage your MCAs so that they can be able to appreciate what you're doing is good for the interest of the county. Whereas for Nakuru, there seems to be a position that is, if I have said this is my position, it is final. I don't need to consult the people. I don't need to engage with the people so that they understand what my vision is. What I'll just call upon the leadership, especially at the county level, just like the president is demonstrating the ability to engage stakeholders. Remember, even when he was releasing the CSS from Azimio, or from the previous government, he established a very cordial working relation between the former CSS and the current one, so that even if they go to this office, they are able to compare notes and be able to help each other in terms of the transition. Susan Keheka also needs to realize the people of Nakuru are a diverse community. You cannot put 70 or 80% one tribe, as much as they might be the majority, but you realize Kenya is not Kenya because of Kikuyus alone or Mount Kenya alone. Kenya is Kenya because of all the communities, all the tribes. In as much as Mount Kenya has contributed big in terms of the economic contribution, but even if you are left alone as Mount Kenya, will you be Kenya? No, you need to appreciate the importance of Kisis and Kikuyus coexisting together. I mean, the Indians who do business in Kisumu, they are the minority. But it's because the Luo people there are able to spend business with the Indians. That's why the Indians are benefiting. If the Indians were left in Kisumu alone, they would not be able to see value in being in Kisumu. The same thing with the Kikuyus in Mount Kenya. They need to appreciate that Kenya is bigger than them. The people in Nakuru also need to appreciate that, Susan Keheka, you are not there as a Kikuyu alone. You need to appreciate the Kisis, the Luos, and the Kalenjins, that they must be part and parcel of your government.
Yes, come on.
Engineer, that now hits where we are. That we, the Mount Kenya people, have been there. We were there before 59 years. Our forefathers went to the bush. Some of them lost everything. That is why you hear them say that sisi ni watoto wa Mau Mau. And our deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, he will only refer me, wewe mtoto wa Mau Mau. He will refer to Dendi Nyoro as mtoto wa Mau Mau. Every other tribe in Kenya has got its history and its strength. I remember the words of Professor Onyang' Nyong'o in the previous government of Mwai Kibaki. He said, the business acumen of Kikuyus and the diligence of the Luos combined with others will make this country great. Meaning, when you touch the interest of Mount Kenya region, that is why you saw the Mount Kenya region voting minor and voting Kanini Kega, because they realized in the set of the Kenya Kwanza, there was no Kikuyu. There was actually the Kenya Kwanza MPs were given another. But
that's a very bad notion, eh?
Yeah, let me come there because engineer.
A lot of tribes.
Build it,
engineer.
We are still waiting for
engineer. Engineer has touched it. And when Mheshimiwa was talking about the children who have classes, he compared them with the Mount Kenya, and I was here quietly listening.
And remember, we are looking at an overview of how counties
what we are saying,
not particularly in the Mount Kenya region.
When we are at a debate like this, we have to look at sections. Today, Mombasa is a city. Nairobi started to be a city in the 50s. We have Nakuru as a city and Kisumu. You've not heard the people of Mount Kenya say, we also need a city. I'm giving a general overview and opinion over mentioning, comparing Keheka through the engineer, comparing Governor Keheka and the entire Mount Kenya region, because it is also not a good thing to say Governor Keheka must realize that it is not Kikuyu's affairs in Nakuru. That's not also a good thing to say. That's why I'm saying we are all as Kenyans together, because the strength that comes from the Mount Kenya, and engineer has touched it, the contribution to the GDP of this country helps this country manage part of its affairs. The same as other tribes. If you go to Northeastern today, if we don't have Northeastern today, the beef that is needed in this country and in the entire region could not be realized.
All right.
So
I want us to look at general, not exactly. Actually, I singled out Meru and Nakuru because those are the counties which have entirely not started. We have issues with the MCAs in Meru. We have issues with the CECs in Nakuru, and the courts have also pronounced themselves more or less like a force. Now, that is why I want an overview of how
there is no count I can read. The only challenge is the Meru and the Nakuru, they are outgoing.
They are outgoing.
Yeah,
now,
because I can give an example of Kisii. It has not kicked off. We have a lot of internal rancors.
What is happening?
Yeah, we have a lot of
so it's just to show that we have deep underlying problems at the counties.
No, the challenge I can single out about the governance in terms of counties, the current governor should accept that that office that they have occupied now, they used to be another governor. This governor is not an angel. He must be having some errors. He did a lot of messes. But you cannot sit there in that office, concentrate dealing with the messes of your former governor. Start your new agenda, draw your new guidelines, have your structures of working to implement the people of your county, and then from there you keep on rectifying the mistakes of the former governor in silence, not in public.
Okay, because of the interest of time, and we need to wrap up.
Let me finish. 1 minute.
Yes. As we wrap up,
there is something. There's element of this Kenya Kwanza taking everything to themselves. We need to have separation of power. There is a sector called devolution, and that devolution is headed by the governors and the senators. You have seen MPs taking the mandate of the MCAs, wanting the governor to act on the ideas of the MP. The issue of governance and the issue of devolution should be handled squarely by the governors and the senators. But you've seen the interference of all these, like in Meru, it was pointed that Governor Kawera pointed that the senator of Meru is interfering with the running of the county.
Away from that, now let's look at the common denominator here.
Yes.
How a county is doing vis-a-vis the national government, because at the end of the day, Kenya Kwanza also will be judged by what it has done in 100 days, and the counties as well, they have already done 100 days.
One, there is the issue of the pending bills. All counties and all governors who got in are just, even if you did your exact work and it was legit, they said, let's do the audit of all the pending bills.
All right. Because of the time, we have to wrap up. I would like to give you an opportunity to give a score in terms of how the Kenya Kwanza have done as we wrap up. We also need to look at the United States Africa Summit.
I want to tell you that as in 100 days, call it 100 days in office, both the county government and national government, they are trying to put their things in order. But for the national government, led by Dr. William Ruto, he has attained to me 30% of the promises. The rest are being laid in the right channel for the common mwananchi to fill them. And again, let me tell you, there is no single day you fought today, you experience change tomorrow. Even the economic times we are having now, it needs some time for the government to realign, identify the problems, develop a critical path analysis that can solve the problems. For the common man to feel the change, we need some time.
Okay.
For the 100 days, we are there to go. We have done some good work, and I want to assure Kenyans that let's support the government and the opposition leader with the opposition party and opposition people. Let them join the government, check the balances in the government with issues that affect common mwananchi.
Thank you so much.
Otherwise, we live in a Kenya this Kenya is ours, and this is our country.
Thank you, Sana. Yes. That is Honorable Alpha Miruka, who is the Member of Parliament for Bomachoge Chache. Shukran sana, Mheshimiwa. And Kamau, Leadership and Governance Expert. Thank you so much for coming. 2 seconds.
Thank you so much for having me here today and giving me a chance to even appreciate the current government that we have. We are looking forward to most robust parliament, and we are supporting the government as it's mandated by the people, and we are praying for their success. Even if we take 1 or 2 loops, we are looking forward to their success, and we pray for them.
It's a good thing. You from the Azimio divide, but you want to support the government so that we may actualize the agenda. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Unfortunately, we have to wrap it up. I will be joined by engineer and also be joined by a youth leader to just put some things into perspective, because at the end of the day, what we are looking at as a continent, vis-a-vis what we have and what America is doing, there's a paradigm shift. We know that America sees a lot of influence by Russia and also by China in Africa. They have been mooted that a permanent seat for an African nation. Those are some of the things that we'll be looking at in the next 30 minutes also. Thank you so much. Let's have a quick break, then we'll be right back.
Argentine player, so right call by the Italian match official. But now yes, there's a chance here, and taken out. Penalty and the yellow card. Just how they lost concentration, this Croatian side, to be exposed wide open at the back, and the yellow card for Josko Javiero. So then they were on the ascendance, and that looks like he's got some pain in the wrong areas that can be very painful for a man there. Dominic Kovic, hoping to protest that decision, but nothing given. It's actually Kovac gets the yellow card. Apologies about that. The Chelsea man into the ref's book.
Of course, I think they open up all of a sudden because they were passing, and they
At KBC Channel 1, we put people at the heart of events with our captivating weekly news features. Every day, we are breaking new grounds with informative, entertaining, and inspiring human interest stories. On Mondays, 9 p.m., we have The Cabinets. Tuesday, 9 p.m., we get inside the barracks for military tales. We delve in the world of cinemas and theater each Wednesday night. For the young and industrious, make a date with us every Thursday at 9 p.m. Fridays are dedicated for my culture. On Saturdays, we go back in time for history in perspective. And on Sundays, we get to know the process of how things are done and made. KBC Channel 1 News features a whole lot of wonderful viewing experience.
No, something's wrong here. There's a strange taste. It's like something's in here.
So good. It's so good.
Really?
Oh my goodness.
Please wake
What's
up.
the matter?
Alan. Please wake up, Alan.
Ellen,
you've been watching? What's the matter with you?
You said you'll no longer sabotage the event. How could you possibly poison the food with ammonia?
Oh my goodness, this can't be happening. Oh, Adriana, my darling, I have to be sure that you're okay.
Bono,
yeah,
the rockstar, is out to save the world.
Yeah.
But Bono, the Moroccan goalkeeper,
yes,
was out to save Africa. You're my plug-in, baby.
Yeah.
Let's crucify our enemies.
And that is Smith, the musician, as well.
Let nobody ever tell you that revenge is not sweet.
It's a very sweet dish.
It's very sweet.
And it is a dish
it's a
best served.
Cold 12 years later. You are an enemy, Wapangie 2034.
When you look at Shalamwana, what we remember her for beyond the music is even the persona she carried for the Congolese country. You know, in Congo they called her Mamu National, mother of the nation.
Hii shamba fanya hivi. Hii tunaweza usa.
Can you allow me to start with English and we go on? Good afternoon, morning. Ajui Kizungu hii.
Huyu anajua, wewe ndio haujui. Na alikuwa ameniambia akipata kitu tunaenda kuosi nini? Futimbo. Ulikuwa uende World Cup.
Exactly.
Sasa hukuenda kwa nini?
Si kwenda kwa sababu ndege zilikuwa zimejaa mheshimiwa.
So iko wapi pesa?
Kwa ndege zilikuwa.
Wapi slip ya bank?
Sikupewa hiyo siku, lakini ni walisema niende nichukue Thursday.
Wewe mzee unakaa wewe ni mkora.
Wakamorio wanzenza.
Morwa Zenza tusimjui.
Zenza anakuambia Zenza ni ile wimbo ya Kili wanzenza. Ndio hiyo anasema.
Welcome back to News Check, and in the next 25 minutes, we are looking at the US-Africa Second Summit that is currently underway. Our very own President William Ruto is there, and also the Right Honorable former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, but in his capacity from the Africa Union infrastructure. And a lot of other heads are there, around 49. President and heads of government to discuss matters Africa, and the key issues to be discussed or are being discussed as we speak is matters climate change, food security, and also global health. And if you look at these things, Africa is the worst hit when we talk about these things. But if we put it in the Kenyan perspective, yes, indeed, there are there lies a big challenge in terms of food security in the country, and also health. We are looking at the universal coverage. So there are a number of issues that are going to be talked about. And another challenge that as Africa we do have is the security challenge. Right now as we speak, we have boots on the ground. Our very own Kenyan men and women are in the Democratic Republic of Congo to ensure that they fortify the region, because at the end of the day, we also need the newest kid in the East African community. That peace will also cascade to peace in the region. Let's look at the Horn of Africa, Somalia. Let's look at South Sudan. So the matters peace is also something that is also being mooted and being discussed. But talking about security, the biggest thing has been that US, during the G20, they intend to support Africa to have their very own permanent seat at the UN Security Council. As we speak, Kenya is the only African country that is having a non-permanent seat at the Security Council, and this would be something to look forward to. But Allow me to introduce my panelists. We had Engineer Crispus Wadimba, and we also have Philemon Kirue, who is a youth leader. And perhaps to engage you, karibu sana, Philemon.
Asante sana. Thank you very much.
There are a number of issues that are going to be looked at, and you being a youth leader, I'm quite sure there are some of the things that you would love to see actualized. Perhaps you can touch on them.
Thank you very much. On the US and Kenya relations or Africa relationship, one thing I would love to touch is solving the problem of unemployment. If I've read, and in the US, more so in states like Maryland and many states in the US, Dallas, Texas, there is a lot of opportunity when it comes to employment. And in line with what is happening now, I wish the people were there. And I know the Foreign Affairs Minister, the PS for Foreign Affairs, all the ministers are there, and some of the MPs, including the President himself, should discuss on how we are going to export the manpower from Kenya to US. If you see in Maryland alone, there is a shortage of nurses. That's one thing that I feel they should touch on.
And Philemon, on the same, in as much as we would love Kenyans to seek greener pastures, but looking at the situation, and especially for doctors and nurses, we are losing a lot of them to other countries. You think this could help the youth and actualize the Kenya Kwanza plan of to spur growth when we have to export manpower?
When we say we are exporting manpower, we have to do an account, an audit of what we have. We do an account and audit of what we have, then we export the surplus. We are not exporting all of it. We are just doing the surplus. The same way we do with other commodities is the same way we will do with the manpower.
Okay, Engineer, this is the second summit. The first one was held by President Barack Obama when he was president, and I'm quite sure after that, and looking at the influence of China in the African continent and also Russia as well, then America might have seen that we need to fortify our relations with Africa. What does this mean?
Well, unfortunately, America, our history with the Western world has been where the Western world benefits more from our resources than we benefit from them. And China came in and gave us another kind of relationship where there were not many questions being asked. We were receiving support whenever we would ask for it, though at a very expensive cost to our economies. And now America is coming in maybe to catch up on the areas or the progress we've made with China. So I feel there's a bit of struggle between should we go east or should we remain east or should we go west? And that is a position that maybe many African countries are having a serious challenge in identifying who is their best friend as of now. So America has a lot to do in terms of repositioning itself in terms of its relationship with many African countries, and especially here in Kenya, where for the last 10 years we have seen a lot of development programs coming through, especially in the infrastructure space, from support from China, though at a very expensive cost. What I would hope now America would do is that probably for us as a country, one of the areas we are finding a big challenge is that our huge debt that we have as a country is very expensive. If the American government, through the World Bank and the others, they would be able to buy some of the expensive loans we have with China and give us a bit of room in terms of physical room to repay them in a longer period of lesser interest, then we will be able to help the Ruto administration in terms of spurring the economic growth that we desire. In addition to that, we have the agreement like the AGOA, where Kenya has some preferential access to sell goods in America. We want that to continue because it was supposed to end, I think, next year. We also had an arrangement that the Trump government and the Uhuru government had started of this free trade agreement between Kenya and America. If that also can be taken a notch higher, we would really be encouraged as a country because we have the Big Four agenda, which Dr. Ruto is very passionate about. And one of the areas was in the manufacturing. So manufacturing, if we are going to become an African manufacturing hub, we still need a market to sell our products. And America makes the best place to sell our products because they are the highest spenders in terms of manufactured goods from China. So if you are able to bring the expertise of China in terms of manufacturing to Kenya, and then now able to access the American market, then we'll do good for ourselves. In terms of food security, other than the challenges of GMO, we can also establish some good relationship between Kenya and America, where we can be able to access some cereals at affordable rates and be able to sell to our people. And as well as my colleague has said here, America offers a good labor export market. And your fears are true. What we'll have maybe is a possibility of a brain drain. We still have room because we already have so many universities in Kenya that we have set up, so many institutions of learning we have set up. We can continue producing more and more health workers at whatever level. And America still provides a good market for us because as much as we send people there, they send money back here, we're able to train more. Philippines, one of the biggest exports has been nurses. And it has not meant that the health sector in Philippines has suffered. We cannot suffer. Africa still presents this as a continent where the population of the youth is very high, the population is very big, technology absorption is very quick, and therefore we can learn very quick in terms of healthcare services and be able to support the rest of the world, including America itself.
Engineer, you are an infrastructure expert, and looking at China, how it has been able to infiltrate the African continent, maybe what it has been able to do is what America and Russia feel quite uncomfortable with because of Africa being the second most populous continent. We have a lot. But unfortunately, our infrastructure and everything, we had to have China. China is almost in each and every country in the continent, and America has come in to kind of quell that. Do we run the risk of being unable to get the yoke of Chinese loans and other people's loans as we try also to, because we have to be in sync with the West? 49 presidents and heads of state is not a small number.
Well, you see, one of the things that we need to appreciate that we have learned from the China-Africa relation is that you can realize economic growth within a very short time.
Yes.
As opposed to when we were very close to America and Britain. And it will take forever to even realize a development project like a dam or a road. Today, if China tells you, we'll give you $2 billion to do a road, within 1 year you'll have the road. We have seen the express highway. We have seen the various bypasses we have done within the last 10 years. It was just a issue of a conversation, signing papers, and the next day on the ground and the project is realized. That is also very good because we are able to get the benefits of that project sooner than later, as opposed to when we were with Americans, and you would take even 3 years to realize a project on the ground. By the time an administration is finishing its first term, you're just still talking, you're still working on paperwork. So at this point when America is coming on board, we are coming to tell them, you come on board, but these are our terms and conditions. If you are going to support us, these are the conditions we are ready to play with. And we want this project to be realized as soon as possible. The other thing also, the technological transfer, the knowledge transfer from China to Africa has been immense. A lot of young engineers have gone to China, have studied. Some of them have come to Africa, been part of this infrastructure project. So the Americans are not coming to tell us, to teach us. Already we know how to do an express highway. We know how to do a dam. We know how to do a power line. We know how to do a bath in the port. So all those things right now we know. And therefore it's just their money we want. The other space that maybe we will need their support is that you've seen last week we were discussing about the tech, the use of technology in Kenya. That's a space where now Kenya really needs to take advantage of the tech companies in America, Google, Visa, Facebook, and all that. So that because the young people in Kenya, the appetite for technology is very huge. We need to find the ways where we can satisfy that appetite, monetize whatever they are doing, and be able to contribute to the economic well-being. So I think it's important that we go to this relationship knowing that we are better placed in terms of our understanding of who we are, our self-worth as a country or as a continent.
And we're going to be looking at that because I'm quite sure each and every country will be there saying this is what we have. Look at the country like DRC, a lot of minerals, but unfortunately civil war, corruption has watered down everything. To you, Philemon, I remember the day before yesterday during the Jamhuri Day celebrations, they were themed on technology and innovation, and the head of state really re-emphasized on how the young people in the country need to take up that space. And now we have the Africa-US Summit. This is one of the platforms that Kenyans should be equally seizing to ensure that we move in the right direction and actualize that, the innovation and the technology.
The technology in Kenya, as an engineer said, has grown over time. If you see what the president even is doing in the US and what is said during the Jamhuri Day and the Innovation Week, you come to understand that many of the tech companies that we need to use to monetize the content that we create here are all based in the US. One is Twitter, number 2 is Facebook, number 3 is TikTok. TikTok has become one of the most famous social media platforms, more so very popular with the young generation. So going to the West now, I think that is what we need from them. West is one, what America will help us as Africa and Kenya is the market. Market for what we produce, the content we produce, the agricultural produce that we do. So in terms of technological advancement, we will measure more on how they are advanced in the US. But I feel there is still more to do with China and the Asian countries. There is more of infrastructure. If you see China and these other Asian countries, they are more specialized in infrastructural development and how fast they grow in. But the other side of America and the West are so much into tech industry, agriculture, and energy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And engineer, if Joe Biden's president USA word is anything to go by, that they are looking at an idea of having an African country, even if it's one, having a permanent seat at the UN Security Council, and tie that with we as Africans, the 54 countries in Africa. Why wouldn't we have done it in one voice, go there as AU? Because I'm quite sure, engineer, a lot of presidents will be saying we have this, can we do this, we have this. We are not speaking as a united voice, that as Africa Union, this is ABCD, this is what we want. Because at the end of the day, we are also equal players, not quite equal, but we are also players that need also to be recognized. And our input is as well, because if USA is looking for Africa, then it means that there's something they need here. It's not only things that they are going to be bringing to us or making our things better. It shows that we are partners, but we are not going there as one voice. Each country is going to be negotiating its deals.
If you look at Africa, we are 20% of the world population. India, another 20%. China, another 20%. The rest of the world takes 40%. At the Security Council, only China is having a permanent seat. Out of the rest of the 60% of the world, only China has one seat. Then the rest of the 4 seats are occupied by countries we could say are the 40%. So the positions at the Security Council are not fairly distributed in terms of the population. Then you look at the issues of security. Where are they most suffering from? The Middle East has been one of the most challenging environment in terms of security for the last 10 years. We have here in East Africa, Somalia, and the DRC, South Sudan. Now Ethiopia is also having some challenges. Mozambique recently, we have seen some elements of insecurity. West Africa has been predominantly an area where we have had problems of security. West Africa and Central Africa. And therefore, it's a good thing that now Africa needs to come together and speak as one voice and say, if we are 20% of the world population, then we have a right to have our own position. So that the issues of security, we can have one voice to speak about. Unfortunately, because of the colonial history, Africa is still divided. We are still divided between the French colonized countries, the English-speaking countries, and maybe some elements of Portuguese. That division is a problem. But who has brought this division? The people still who occupy the Security Council, because they use that insecurity to exploit our resources. The problem in Mali, Niger, Cote d'Ivoire are not just our own. They are a problem created by the West because they want to exploit the resources in Africa. Ivory Coast is a country where 70% of the chocolate is produced. But who makes the most chocolate from that chocolate is Belgium. In DRC, we have a lot of minerals, gold, cobalt, where the issue of renewable energy in terms of battery power, telephone, mobile phones, resources that are required there. Well. They're coming from there. But who makes the most out of that? The companies in America, in Silicon Valley and China. So our problems of security are not of our own. They are created by other forces out there so that they can take advantage of our resources. The day we will wake up and realize that is the true facts, and we come together, then we will be able to liberate ourselves. Unfortunately, our politics also is the Western democracy kind of, where they choose for us who will be president. They control our election process. They manipulate the opposition, and they are able to have a hand in terms of our governance, and they are able to control us from wherever they are in the West and manipulate the leadership we have so they can continue exploiting us. So as a continent, and especially the young people, we need to really have a conversation. The young people need to start having to speak to each other. Whether in Nigeria, you are in Kenya, you are in Uganda, we need to talk to each other so that when that time comes, we are in a position of leadership. We will be able to know when the Western world is coming to manipulate the kind of leadership we shall offer, so that one day we'll be able to have our own kind of democracy, our own kind of politics, and we'll be able to position ourselves and say, this is the position of Africa, and this is the way we are going to move forward.
Indeed. Remember, Jamhuri Day celebrations, innovation is the predominant for the next couple of weeks, because we also have Nairobi Festival. And the president is in the United States, and I'm quite sure he's going to be given an opportunity either to present or to talk about what he would, or what Africa and Kenya has to offer in terms of youth. What do you think that the president should put emphasis on as we wind up?
What the president should put focus on, one, is our agricultural produce. Now we have direct flights from Kenya to US. Number two is the bottlenecks in getting a visa. Getting a visa to the US is a tough process. That's one thing the president should check. Number three is the tech. How to monetize the content we create. We have good content in Kenya. The best content creators are here in Kenya, more so in social media, as I've said before, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The last thing is about employment. We have to produce. The president should sell our employment, our labor to the US market. Those are some of the things that I feel the president should.
Indeed, and engineer, as we wind up, Kenya has been hailed as one of the countries that the economy is supported by the labor force, because we have the zeal, we have the knowledge looking at the East and Central Africa region. But as we wind up, what are some of the emphases? He has touched a number of things that the president should touch on, of which a lot is touching on the youth. What are some of the other things that the head of state should be keen on to look at as we wind up?
One of the areas that we really need not to forget is the issue of security. Remember, we still have our men and women in Somalia. We have now sent a new team to DRC Congo. Those are security issues that affect Africa and affect us directly. So as much as we may want to send our people to work in America, we also want the ones we live here to remain in peace. We don't want them to feel threatened. We've seen Al-Shabaab continuously attacking. Today we have seen some security alerts going around in terms of the risk of having attacks over Christmas. So I need to see a conversation between William Ruto and Joe Biden on how we can continuously share intelligence, share technology, share our military men and women in terms of supporting each other to fight terrorism. But I also want to add on the issue of work. We know now Kenyans can work remotely, meaning that a Kenyan can work from here and provide services to an American company. One of the challenges that was identified during the Innovation Week was that Kenya is still not mapped as one of those countries where they can recruit a certain quality level of kind of workforce, and therefore we need the government of Kenya to look at those areas where we need to improve, so that Kenya can qualify to be an attractive location for recruitment for workers for American companies in terms of outsourcing services. Whether they may go to work there is not very important, but they can be able to work from here but still earn from remittances from America. That would be a very great thing, because if they're able to work from here and they're able to make money from here, the Kenyan government also will be able to tax them directly, and they will contribute directly to our economy. So those are some of the areas we need to see a strengthening of partnership. But lastly is also the issue of these tech companies making money from Kenya but not paying taxes. Google, Meta, Twitter, TikTok, they are making a lot of money, but this money, the taxes they pay are to American companies, Canadian companies, Ireland and Europe. We need to see some of these companies, the monetization domiciled here in Kenya, so that Kenyan government can also be able to tax those companies that are making money from Kenyan's content.
Indeed. Thank you so much. And also thanks to Faith Cecile on who's watching. Don't say where you're watching us from, but you say in the Sell to Us packet. It's some minutes ago. So in regards on what we were discussing earlier on, the Sell to Us packet at 240. I don't support it. Anthony Morira, you say you are watching. Eli Shuke, you say farmers are holding the maize. They are the holding, waiting for the price of the maize to spike. I suggest the government to start distributing the imported maize to the market. Wow, this is quite something. Farmers have started holding meat. A new crop of interested in pasture commissioners is what we want. Sure, we need a clean commission. Next year we'll see a whole electoral commission, as it will have new commissioners. Only Noah Jumak, Cecile Diane, Nyagesa Vini, Wanjao George are some of the sentiments that I'm able to sample. Thank you indeed so much for watching us. These have been News Check. Thank you so much for watching. We have engineer Crispus Wadimba, and also we had Philemon, who is a youth leader. We are now giving rise of the baton to the Swahili desk for Kurunzi Mashinani and Tamrini. Thank you so much for watching. Let's continue this conversation on social media.
Argentine player, so right call by the Italian match official. But now yes, there's a chance here, and taken out. Penalty and the yellow card. Just how they lost concentration, this Croatian side, to be exposed wide open at the back, and the yellow card for Josko Javiero. So then they were on the ascendance, and that the Looks like he's got some pain in the wrong areas that can be very painful for a man there. Dominic Kovic, hoping to protest that decision, but nothing given. It's actually Kovac who gets the yellow card. Apologies about that. The Chelsea man into the ref's book.
Of course, I think they open up all of a sudden because they were passing, and they
Have you ever thought of a desert safari in Kenya?
We have natural sand dunes where you can only see that in Dubai. So we brought Dubai down here.
It would be ideal to have some camels here to do some camel safaris.
This week on Magical Sense, we take you to Malindi, Kilifi County. You can drive on this magical sand dunes.
I was taking some pics with my friend and she was like, take some because I want to post and say that I'm in Dubai. So it's just a great experience.
Magical Sense, only on Channel 1.
Bono,
yeah,
the rock star, is out to save the world.
Yeah.
But Bono, the Moroccan goalkeeper,
yes,
yeah, was out to save Africa. You're my plug-in, baby.
Yeah.
Let's crucify our enemies.
And that is Mika, the musician, as well.
Let nobody ever tell you that revenge is not.
It's a very sweet thing.
It's very sweet.
And it is a dish
it's a
best served.
Cold 12 years later. You have an enemy, wapangie 2034.
When you look at Shalamwana, what we remember her for beyond the music is even the persona she carried for the Congolese country. You know, in Congo they called her Mamu National, mother of the nation.
No, something's wrong here. There's a strange taste. It's like something's in here.
So good. It's so good.
Really?
Oh my goodness.
Please wake
What's
up.
the matter?
Alan, please wake up, Alan.
Ellen, you've been watching? What's the matter with you?
You said you'll no longer sabotage the event. How could you possibly poison the food with ammonia?
Oh my goodness, this can't be happening. Oh, Adriana, my darling, I have to be sure that you're okay.
At KBC Channel 1, we put people at the heart of events with our captivating weekly news features. Every day, we are breaking new grounds with informative, entertaining, and inspiring human interest stories. On Mondays, 9 p.m., we have The Cabinets. Tuesday, 9 p.m., we get inside the barracks for military tales. We delve in the world of cinemas and theater each Wednesday night. For the young and industrious, make a date with us every Thursday at 9 p.m. Fridays are dedicated for my culture. On Saturdays, we go back in time for history in perspective. And on Sundays, we get to know the process of how things are done and made. KBC Channel 1 News features a whole lot of wonderful viewing experience.
Feel the excitement. Relish every moment. Get 1.5 GB at 50 bob. Valid for 3 hours. Furahia Futa, dial *544#. Make chaguo smarter na Airtel, the most affordable network.
Hayawi huwa kinyang'anyiro cha kombe la dunia nchini Qatar cha ngwananga Novemba 20 hadi Disemba 18, huku timu 32 zikiwania taji. KBC Channel 1 inakupa fursa ya kutizama mbashara kipute hicho kutoka Qatar nyumbani kwako. Runinga ya KBC Channel 1 inakukaribisha kwenye kipindi cha Dunda Qatar.
Nakwambia kwamba baba, alama ya reli ni Dunda Qatar,
na tunakuja nyumbani pale mtaani pale ambapo upo wewe mwenyewe, huku ukijishindia zawadi chungu nzima.
Hapa kumejaa vitu kocho.
Jongea shabiki kwenye Dunda Qatar. Ukitazama unashinda. KBC Channel 1, wenzio wa dhati michezoni.
When I don't think ya puna moranga Shoro FM Wenyere Nanyuki Shoro FM Nakuru naibashanya hururu Shoro FM Motari mohoro ona nyebo Shoro FM Odhikereria
So Dr. mpenzi mtazamaji, zimekatika dakika za kuhesabu baada ya saa 6 saa za Afrika Mashariki. Sana wakati mwingine wangu mimi na wewe kukutana kwenye kipindi chetu cha Tamrini, na unafahamu fika kwamba mpenzi mtazamaji, juma lililopita lilikuwa ni juma la kuonyesha masuala mawili matatu kuhusiana na masuala ya teknolojia na uvumbuzi. Ni kongamano ambalo lilikuwa likifanyika katika ukumbi wa mikutano hapa jijini Nairobi, ukumbi wa KCC. Na kabla jamhuri bado haijapata maji, nataka tuzungumzie kuhusiana na masuala ya uvumbuzi na teknolojia, na studioni ni naye katibu mwenyekiti wa vituo vya uvumbuzi hapa nchini, anafahamika kama Abdinur Ali, sio Abdinur? Wakati mwingi mimi hukuita pengine Mluga kutokana na uvumbuzi wako, lakini kwa sasa itabidi nikuite kwa majina yako mawili. Na karibu sana kwenye studio zetu za KBC.
Asante sana.
Na mtazamaji, kuanzia sasa hadi mida ya saa 7 utakuwa unajumuika nasi tukueleze zaidi kuhusiana na masuala kama haya, na unaweza pia kutupatia jumbe zako kuhusiana na mada yetu kuu ya leo. Mimi naitwa Gladys Mungai. Unaweza ukatupata kwenye mitandao ya KBC kama KBC Channel 1 @Gladys Mungai na Abdinur Mahdi. Hilo ni ngumu. Karibu sana, na tuanze tu moja kwa moja kwa kutueleza, wewe ni katibu mkuu wa vituo vingi tu nchini ambavyo vinawaleta pamoja wavumbuzi wa taasisi na vitu mbalimbali ambavyo vinavumbuliwa kutokana na masuala ya kuendelea kwa teknolojia na masuala kama hayo. Pengine kwa manufaa ya mtazamaji, tuanze tu kwa kutueleza vituo unavyovisimamia, pengine mmevumbua vitu kama gani, mnajihusisha na masuala kama gani?
Asante sana Gladys. Nashukuru sana kwa kunileta huku. Kwanza kwa majina naitwa Abdinur Ali Mahdi. Huwa ni jina ngumu kwa watu wengi, lakini si jina ngumu vile. Mie ni katibu mkuu wa lugha ya mambo tunaita Secretary General Association of Countrywide Innovation Hubs. Hii ni mkusanyiko wa vituo vya ubunifu. Kwa sasa tuko na takriban members 63 members katika nchini. Tunaangazia na pia the objective ya hizi ubunifu nini muungano ni kuangalia kusaidia ubunifu what do you call it, innovation hubs outside Nairobi, kwa sababu umeona innovation hubs mostly ziko Nairobi, kama umeshasikia iHub, naye, na pia zinasaidia innovators within Nairobi. Sasa tukaamua mbona tusiende mashinani, kwa sababu kuna watu pia wako na fikra na wako na ubunifu, wako na innovations huko mashinani. Let's say mahali kama what do you call it, Turkana, mahali kama Mandera, mahali ambayo huwa imeachwa sana kimaendeleo. Kwa hivyo tumeamua kila sehemu ya nchi tutakuwa na vituo vya ubunifu. Kwa sasa vile nimekuambia awali tuko na 63 members na bado tunaendelea kuongeza. Na hizi hubs ziko outside Nairobi. Hauwezi pata hubs za Nairobi kwa sababu mostly zinaangazia hizo hubs ambazo ziko mahali ambazo zimeshasahaulika katika nchi, especially in remote parts of the country. The objective of the hubs ni first of all ni ku source funding pamoja, kushare resources na pia kusaidia. Kama mimi for example niko na programu huko Turkana, nafaa hakuna haja mimi kwenda Turkana. Kama tuko na hapa pale, ile hub tuko naye pale ambaye ni member hub ndio inatufanyia kazi tu kwa kuwasiliana na through cooperation, ndio tunafanya program zetu katika nchi yote.
Naam. Unatokea maeneo ambayo kwa kiasi kikubwa huenda pengine ukamweleza mtu ubunifu wako wakashangaa ni vipi haswa uliweza kubuni kifaa kama kile. Na tuzungumzie unaposema kwamba wanachama wenu hawapatikani katika kaunti ya Nairobi, ni pengine masuala gani ambayo mliona kwamba pengine huenda ikawa mliachwa nje, ikawa kwamba pengine rasilimali zote zinapelekwa katika ubunifu ambao unatoka katika kaunti ya Nairobi, na ndiposa mkawa na msukumo wa kutengeneza pengine muungano wa watu ambao wanatoka katika kaunti ambazo pengine rasilimali hauwafikii tu kwa njia moja kwa moja?
Nikifikiria katika safari yangu ya ubunifu huko awali, na ile shida nilizipitia, na pia mimi natoka huko Garissa na Wajir. Kwa hivyo wewe kupata mtu mtaalamu kukusaidia yani ku accelerate ama hata kukupatia mawaidha, lazima ufike Nairobi. Sasa ilibidi hizo mashida ambazo sisi tulipitia kama sisi wavumbuzi ndio tunajaribu kutatua. Ndio mimi sasa kama niko Wajir na niko na uvumbuvi ama innovation ama even fikira, si lazima innovation, hata niko na tu fikira ambaye nitasema inaweza saidia jamii, hakuna haja mimi kusafiri Nairobi. Nitapata usaidizi ambaye naitaka nikiwa huko Wajir kwa kutumia hizi hubs, kwa sababu hizi hubs ziko na experts, wataalamu, mentors, wengine hata wako ngambo, wengine wako hapa Nairobi. So huwa kama kila startup, kila hub inakuwa na board member wake na pia inakuwa na wataalamu. Kwa hivyo mimi sasa kwa mfano niko na fikira fulani, lakini sijui nitaanzia wapi. Mimi kazi yangu ni kutembea kwa hiyo kituo. Mimi nitasema jina langu ni so bila toka hii sehemu, niko na hii idea ama niko na hii fikira. Kwa hivyo hiyo kituo itakaa chini ikusaidie kudevelop hiyo idealization stage mpaka ukue SME, na watakusaidia wao na pia the partners ama what do you call wataalamu ambao pia wako part of the hub. Na pia association iko na partners wengi sana, international partners kama UNDP, tuko na Huawei, tuko na KTN Global, UK Innovate. Kwa hivyo resources iko, kwa hivyo ni vile tu ni vituo sasa ndo zinafaa kuchukua hizo resources kutoka association sasa. Na nafurahi sana ile hatua tumezipiga kwa sasa na vile tumegrow. Na hii association ni just 3 years old only. Ni miaka 3 tu na tushafanya hatua mingi sana. Wiki iliyopita tulifanya Regional Innovation Challenge katika sehemu 10 nchini. Tuna sehemu chini nchi 10, ndo nasema maana yake kutoka Turkana hadi Mandera hadi Lamu. Tuliamua hizo regional hubs zikutane na tukagawa kwa regions, na pia wakafanya innovation week yao, kila mmoja akafanya pitching competition, na bora 3 wa hiyo competition wakatuzwa shilingi 300,000 na UNDP.
Tutakuwa pengine tunaangazia hatua ambazo wale ambao wameafikia viwango vya kuridhisha, pengine jinsi ambavyo mnawatuza kama unavyosema kwamba hilo shindano la juma lililopita sio. Lakini unavyosema kwamba huu muungano wenu ni muungano ambao una takriban miaka 3. Nafahamu kwamba pengine si na uhakika kama pengine umekuwa katibu mkuu katika miaka hiyo 3, lakini katika muda ambao umekuwa pengine kiongozi wa muungano huo, changamoto ambazo umekuwa ukizisikia kutoka kwa watu ambao wana yale mawazo ama ubunifu katika maeneo mbalimbali yamekuwa zimekuwa zile changamoto zimekuwa zipi? Umesikia wanalalama kuhusiana na zipi haswa, na ni jinsi gani mumeweza kama viongozi wa muungano huu pengine kutatua zile ambao wanasema kwamba kuna tafaruku za hapa na pale, kuhakikisha kwamba pengine kama mimi ningependa pengine kutoa ama kuendeleza zile ideas zangu, mawazo yangu, nikawa wakati mwingine ninajipata tu pengine zimekatikia tu mahali, pengine mmekuwa mkitoa suluhu gani kwa changamoto za wanachama wenu?
Kwanza changamoto ni mingi huko nje, especially kama uko outside Nairobi, kwa sababu ya resources na pia kwa sababu ya network na changamoto zingine kadhaa. Changamoto ya kwanza ambaye huwa tunakutana karibu kila siku ni changamoto ya ubunifu kuogopa hizo fikra zao kuibiwa sana, na tumeona lawama mingi sana kwa hiyo shida, especially kwa international property right. For example, mimi niko na idea, nakuja kwako na kwambia wewe, mimi niko na idea, nataka unisaidie. Sasa mwenye na pitch hiyo idea ama namwambia hizo idea, bado the innovator hakuambiwa lazima assign memorandum of understanding. Ndio huyo mtu baada wewe kumwambia idea ya fikra zako asiende aka implement hiyo idea yako. Na tumeona a lot of young men and women ambao idea zao zilipotea hivyo mingi sana. Kwanza hata serikali kuu takriban kila mwezi unapatana na mashindano ya uvumbuzi. Sasa unashangaa uvumbuzi umeisha, hujaona mtu ametuzwa na hakuna mtu ashaipigwa simu akaambiwa sasa wewe umeshinda ama hukushinda. So tukaona ni sometimes ni njama ya kuiba hizo fikira za wabunifu, na ni changamoto kubwa sana ambaye iko sahi country. Ndio maana hili wiki iliyopita one of the main event ilikuwa ni kuleta IP lawyer au ambie the innovators how they can protect their ideas, vile wanaweza chunga hiyo fikra zao. Na pia in case nataka kuambia fikra zangu kwa wengine, what are the steps nafaa kuchukua, kwa sababu siwezi kuja tu nikupatie fikra yangu alafu mimi niende nyumbani na wewe ndio nyumbani, kwa sababu labda wewe uko na pesa ya kuimplement, mimi sina hela. Kwa hivyo ilikuwa session, one of the best sessions ambaye mawakili walikuwa wanaambiwa ni which department of the government ambaye inafaa kudeal na property rights, type of property rights, na pia in case mtu aibe fikra zako unafaa kureport kwa nani. Kwa hivyo changamoto kubwa sana ni wale wabunifu wanaogopa kuleta fikra zao nje kwa hofu ya kuibiwa. Hiyo ilikuwa ni changamoto kubwa sana ambayo tunapokea. Mtu anakuambia mimi niko nafikiria lakini sitaki kuitoa kwa sababu naogopa, siamini mtu hapa. Kwa hivyo hiyo ni one of the changamoto. Na pia as an association pia tuko na mawakili wetu. Kwa hivyo mwenye atakuja kwa yani vituo zetu iko popote na uko na fikra zako, kitu la kwanza kabla hata tujaanza kukusaidia, tunakuuliza hii fikra zako umei protect, na kama copyright ama ni kipi. Kama ukusema hapana, hiyo ndo hatua ya kwanza. Hatua ya kwanza ni ku protect your idea before even we start. Changamoto ya pili ni ambayo hata mimi mwenyewe nilipitia sana, ni lack of funding, kupata funding kutoka serikali. Serikali kuna program mingi sana ambayo inasema ni ya vijana. Ukigoogle sasa unaweza shangaa sana, unaweza pata programu kama 20 youth something, lazima waweke tu youth hapo kwa hiyo program. Lakini sasa the impact hatukuifeel. Kwa hivyo unapata uko na fikra kama yangu sasa ya lugha, unapata unakaa mwaka 2 miaka 3 upati funding, una pitch mpaka unaenda nje za ngambo, unakuwa awarded na Africa Union, unaenda mpaka Ulaya, una represent Kenya, unarudi bado ni vile vile. So kuna hiyo changamoto ya lack of funding. Kama kungekuwa na funding for especially, kuna hii idara inaitwa Kenya Innovation Agency. Kitambo ilikuwa kimekufa, lakini sasa hii ni kama imeanza kufufuka. Idara kama hiyo ilikuwa nafaa kama mbunifu, the innovator ako na fikira, a walk in aseme mimi niko na fikira hizi and this is my business model, nataka sasa msaidie, hata kama ni kuwapatia grant or something. Lakini hakukuwa na kitu kama hicho. Kwa hivyo changamoto la pili ningesema ni hiyo lack of funding. Changamoto ya tatu ningesema ni ambayo sasa tumeanza kutatua ni, for example, mimi niko na fikira na niko sehemu za Mandera ama niko let's say sehemu za Narok ama Turkana. Sijui nitaanzia wapi ama sijui hatua gani nitafanya ndio niende ndio niseme hey, mimi niko na idea na nataka kushowcase hii idea yangu. Ndio maana sasa hivi vile tumeanza hizi mashindano ya county na pia regional, ndio watu wameanza kujitokeza. Kwa mshangao katika Northeastern region ambayo mimi nilikuwa nimesimamia hiyo mashindano, sikutarajia nitapata ubunifu 21. Sikutarajia. Paka innovations zingine nilikuwa najiuliza hii imetoka Northeastern kweli? Technology yenyewe. Paka majudges walikuwa wanachanga sana. Walikuwa wanasema these ideas are brilliant. So hakuna mtu alikuwa anatarajia mtu wa Mandera anaweza kuwa na idea. Which means kama region ideas ziko pale na fikira ziko, lakini hakuna ile platform ya mtu kwenda kujieleza ama kupitch. Na sasa hii vile association imekuja, nafikiri kutakuwa na a lot of innovations from those regions ambaye watu hawakuwa wanafikiria kutakuwa na maendeleo ama kutakuwa na fikira lolote.
Naam, Abdi, unavyosema ni kwamba umeshuhudia idadi ya watu wanaoleta ubunifu wao katika kongamano ama katika ngazi mbalimbali ikizidi kuongezeka. Lakini kuna watu ambao wako pale katika kaunti mbalimbali, mtu ana ile idea yake ama ule ubunifu wake na pengine huenda ikawa anahofia akasema pengine kuna vigezo ambavyo vinafaa kutimizwa kwanza kabla pengine niwasilishe ubunifu wangu katika yale mashindano. Pengine kwa manufaa ya wabunifu wanaotazama ama watu ambao pengine wangependa kuendeleza zile ajenda zao za ubunifu, pengine kuna matako mawili matatu ambao huenda ikawa wanahitajika kwamba kuwa wametimiza kabla ya pengine kuingia katika mashindano ama pengine kuja kuleta ule ubunifu wao katika pengine mbele ya majaji.
Kusema kweli, ubunifu uko na levels. Ni kama tu uko na fikira. Ni kama for example unataka kujenga nyumba. Ama mliambiwa maybe mjenge nyumba. Kuna moja kwa foundation, kuna mmoja ashafika course kama 3, kuna mwingine amefika dirisha, kuna mwingine ako na mabati, kuna mwingine ashapaka rangi. Kwa hivyo kuna moja ambaye ako na fikira tu, lakini bado hakufanya hatua lolote. Na kuna moja alifanya hatua ya kwanza at least amepita idealization stage. Idealization stage ni mahali you are clear of your innovation. Yani umeshaweka mikakati zote na unajua this is an innovation. Na pia nikirudisha nyuma kidogo, nataka pia watazamaji wajue ubunifu ni nini. Ubunifu si lazima ikuwe teknolojia. Na pia ubunifu si lazima ukuwe mtu wa tech ama ukuwe ulete something kutoka rocket science. Kama wewe una solve problem, kama unatatua shida yote ya kijamii, hiyo ni ubunifu. Na hapo ndo kuna pesa. Wale ukiangalia sasa wale watu ambao wamebobea katika dunia ya business, mostly ukiwaangalia kuna kitu wanatatua. So kwa hivyo katika jamii yako, katika nchi yako, katika environment yako, kuna shida fulani ambayo inasumbua watu, ama siko?
Ndivyo.
Sasa wewe unafaa kuleta suluhu kwa hizo shida ambayo inasumbua. So kuleta suluhu sasa utakuwa umesaidia jamii, na pia wewe ulikuwa unajiendeleza kimaisha kwa sababu unapata mapato. Kwa hivyo ubunifu si lazima ukue how to code ama uende shule ya software engineering, si lazima hiyo. Mbunifu ni mtu ambaye anakuja tu na idea ambaye inaleta suluhu. Kama sasa for example katika kaskazini mashariki tuna changamoto mingi sana, ikiwemo elimu mbaya. Vile nimeleta ubunifu wangu pia, nikajiuliza mbona mtoto wa darasa la 7 la 8 ama mtoto hata wa sekondari mbona hajui Kiingereza na Kiswahili? Na sasa atapitaje mtihani kabla hakupita, kabla hakuwa competent kwa lugha? Na nikajiuliza sasa suluhu ni nini? Ni kuwafunza na lugha ya mama yao hadi darasa la 3 la 4. Kwa sababu mimi najua lugha ya mama yangu. Nikifika kwa darasa naambiwa usinitumie, nitumie Kiingereza. Mimi sijaona Kiingereza. So how do you expect mimi nijue the content kwa sababu mimi sielewi? Kwa hivyo hiyo sasa ni baadhi za solutions ambayo ina solve problem. Si kitu kubwa. Anyone can come up with an app ambayo inatafsiri curriculum ama syllabus. Lakini it's not about the simplicity, it's about the impact. Kwa hivyo ningesema kwa wasikilizaji, watazamaji, katika hiyo jamii huko kuna mashida fulani. Kama ni afya, kama ni elimu, kama ni barabara, kama hata ni lishe bora, wewe ndo unafaa kuleta suluhu. Wewe kuleta suluhu, wewe ni mbunifu. Si lazima ikuwe teknolojia. Sasa hii ukiangalia zile innovations ambayo tulituza katika Northeastern, karibu 2-3 hazikuwa teknolojia. Zilikuwa tu ni vitu mimi na wewe tunaweza fanya, lakini hatukuiona kama inaleta suluhu. Kwa hivyo those simple things ambayo wewe unafanya kuleta suluhu ndio innovations. Kwa hivyo kila mtu anaweza kuwa mbunifu. Anyone can be an innovator. Hata kama hujui lugha, hata kama hujui anything. Yeah.
Na asante. Na pale ambapo umegusia ule ubunifu wako wa lugha, ni ubunifu ambao umetuzwa sio nchini Kenya tu bali katika pia mataifa jirani. Na pengine kutokana na kwamba pengine uliubuni ili kutoa mafunzo ya elimu kwa wanafunzi wa maeneo wa ngazi za chekechea, sio katika maeneo ya kaskazini mwa Kenya. Pengine umefaulu kutoa ule mtambo unatumika tu katika unakotokea, ama pia unaweza kutumika katika maeneo mengine nchini, na kando pengine na kufunza lugha ya mama, elimu kwa lugha ya mama, mtu pia anaweza akautumia kuelewa masomo zaidi kwa lugha pengine ya Kimombo ama hata Kiswahili ama pengine hata Kijerumani kama unataka pengine kujiendeleza.
Hiyo lugha basically kwa sasa tumefanya jamii 19. Kwa hivyo si jamii ya wafugaji peke yake. Ila hali tulikuwa tumeanza na jamii ya wafugaji, especially Maasai, Somali na Borana na Samburu na Turkana. Lakini tukaona bado hiyo njia bado iko ya kujua syllabus kwa lugha ya mama, kwa sababu nimeishi katika Central Kenya ya kati, na unapatana bado kuna watu ambao hawaelewi Kiswahili. Kwa hivyo watu wasifikirie kuwa ni watu tu wa mashinani wa kaskazini mashariki ama watu wa north ndio lugha inawasumbua. Unafika mahali zingine, sehemu zingine za Kenya bado lugha inasumbua. Kwa hivyo hiyo ubunifu wa lugha inatumika sasa kwa sasa hivi, inatumika na jamii 19, na pia tumetuzwa na Africa Union kama 10 bora za fikira za innovations za in Africa, na pia tumetuzwa na Africa Telecommunication Union kama second best after Egypt, na pia tumetuzwa na best 100 startups in Istanbul, na pia juzi tu hii mwaka ikianza tumetuzwa huko Uingereza na Global EdTech Awards. Kulikuwa na mashindano hapa by UK Kenya Tech Hub, wakachagua ubunifu karibu 10, so ndo tukaanza kufanya pitching competition, ndo nikakuwa nambari wa kwanza, ndo nikaenda ku represent the country. Kwa hivyo kwa Kiswahili wanasema hatutunzwi kwetu, vile tunapata tuzo kwa Afrika mzima ama kwa Ulaya, ukikuja nyumbani unashangaa mbona ubunifu wako ambao umetumia muda mrefu na pia umefanya juhudi mingi sana kuleta, mbona haitumiki? Kwa sababu matumizi yake sio nzuri sana. Kabla ya mimi kubuni mlugha, nilikuwa telecom engineer, na nilikuwa nafanya vizuri sana, lakini ile mashida nimeziona nikifika huko sehemu za kwetu, vile vijana, mtoto anamaliza form 4, mtoto analeta grade ya D- ama E. Hii unajua inamaanisha nini? Hii inamaanisha hata kama hujaenda shule na unajua kuandika jina lako, kupata hii inataka tu kuandika jina lako, which means huyu mtoto vile ameanza shule darasa maybe la kwanza machekechea, akafika form 4, hiyo ni miaka karibu na 13 14, na ameleta alama ya E, na ni kitu kawaida. Sai KBC KCSE KCPE inatangazwa maybe hii wiki ama wiki ijayo. Angalia tu kaskazini mashariki ziko wapi? Huko nyuma. So unajiuliza shida ziko wapi? Ndio nikaanza kufanya masters in education technology ili nilete suluhu kwa hizi shida ambazo inatukumba kama region. Sasa unashangaa bado hii juhudi zote umezitumia na bado matumizi sio vile inatakana. Although kuna changamoto mingi sana ya connectivity, ya stima pia iko, ya internet ni shida, although hiyo app ya mlugha pia ni offline. But tulijaribu sana kuitengeneza hiyo app ikue inatumika, lakini bado changamoto ziko za matumizi.
Naam. Huenda ikawa kuna mtu anajiuliza hii mlugha pengine mtu anaweza akaipata wapi?
Mlugha kwa sasa unaweza pata kwa Play Store. Una Google m-lugha, ama unaweza enda kwa website yetu www.mlugha.com, hapo unaweza pata maelezo zote kuhusu app.
Naam. Abdi, umezungumzia kuhusiana pengine na kukubalika kwa ubunifu nchini ikilinganishwa pengine na jinsi ambavyo wabunifu mnapokelewa katika mataifa ya kigeni. Na nafahamu pia katika kongamano la ubunifu katika ukumbi wa KICC juma lililopita, katika pitapita zangu kule, kuna bwana fulani alisema kwamba alitakikana kuuza kifaa fulani katika taifa la India, lakini anasema kwamba uuzaji huo ni baina ya Kenya na India, na analalama kwamba kuna masharti mengi tu ama bureaucracies wanavyosema kwa lugha ya Kimombo, ambayo inasababisha kwamba wabunifu hawapigi hatua katika kujiendeleza pamoja, kutokana na kwamba na zile ajenda ambazo wametekeleza kutokana na ubunifu wao. Sasa kama kiongozi wa muungano unao shabikia ama muungano unaoongoza, nafahamu kwamba kufikia sasa mnafahamu kwamba yale ambayo yaliyafikiwa katika kongamano la KICC, sasa hizo bureaucracies ama sheria nyingi tu na vikwazo ambazo zinafanya kwamba wabunifu wasipige hatua mbele kujiendeleza na hata pia kufaidika kutokana na ubunifu wao na kuendelea hata kutoa ubunifu zaidi ama zile agenda nyinginezo, pengine mna mipango ya kuzungumza na serikali kuu?
La kwanza, hizo changamoto karibu kila mtu hupitia. Nakumbuka nikianza hii safari nilikuwa nimepeleka hiyo ubunifu wangu kwa idara ya kusajili curriculum ya Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, na nilishtuka sana kwa sababu niliambiwa nilipe milioni 2 kwa kuidhinisha hizo applications, na sasa hizo nilikuwa nimepeleka lugha karibu 9 hivi na niko na 19, which means the more language unaipeleka the more unazidi kuongeza pesa. Ilibidi sasa ningangane, nijaribu hata kuandika kwa magazeti, nikapiga kelele kwa mtandao wa jamii, ikaangaziwa mpaka kwa matelevisheni na maradio. Mimi nikasema mimi naleta suluhu na siwezi lipia suluhu ambayo mimi nataka jamii yangu ifaidike. Mara mwisho waziri wa elimu aliyetangulia Profesa Magoha ndo akaingilia kati, ndo nikapewa hiyo certificate ama idhinisho. Kwa hivyo si peke yangu, na ni changamoto kubwa sana ambayo inakumbwa na wavumbuzi karibu nchi mzima. Kama sasa nikikuja na ubunifu wa afya, nafaa kwenda kwa Ministry of Health, kwa idara ya afya, ndio wasajili. Kama ni wa elimu lazima nipitie. Kwa hivyo kila mtu ambaye ako na innovation anafaa kuwa accredited by hiyo department. Na naona changamoto ni same. It's either hiyo fikra yako inaibiwa ama unasumbuliwa. You will be frustrated. Mara leta pesa, mara enda huku. Na all of this inaangukia tu kwa policy ambayo tulikuwa tumeleta startup bill ambayo maybe tutazungumzia later. Ilikuwa imepita kwa Senate, ilikuwa imeletwa na Senator Sakaja ambaye ni governor sasa wa Nairobi. Hiyo startup bill ingerahisisha mambo kama haya sasa, lakini bado ni about policy, kwa sababu sisi hatuna jukumu la ku create policies. We can only advise the policy makers. Kama hiyo startup bill tulicheza a very big role in terms of shaping it, na sasa pia Rais William Ruto amesema by January ataipeleka hiyo startup bill kwa bunge ndio ijadiliwe, which is also a good news. Lakini sisi kama muungano hatuna budi ya kufanya policy ni ya watu wengine, lakini bado hizo changamoto ziko. Na ukisikia stories ambaye inatoka kwa wavumbuzi ambayo vile tu umekuwa frustrated na government, ni kustajabisha sana. Na nakumbuka kuna jamaa wengine pia walikuwa wameleta tablets, waliimport tablets ya kuja kusaidia tu ile kudistribute. Unasikia imekwama kwa KRA kwa sababu wanafaa kulipa ushuru gani. Mara wanaambia lazima walete sample ili kaya hapo. Mara wanapeleka kwa idara wanaambiwa walete milioni karibu ngapi. Na bado hizi vitu ni vitu za kusaidia watu. Paka sasa zinaenda kwa nchi jirani kwa sababu hakuna ile support system ya anything ambaye inaletwa ama inatengenezwa kwa kuna minajili ya kusaidia the common mwananchi. There's no support system. Na najiuliza ama Mkenya mwingine tu atajiuliza, ni lazima mpige kelele ndiposa like ujipate kwamba unasaidika. Na katika mwisho wa kongamano la uvumbuzi katika ukumbi wa KCC ni kwamba Rais amesema kwamba atakuwa anazungumza na tech giants ama watu wakubwa wa ubunifu katika mataifa mengine, na nafahamu kwamba aidha wakati huo
pindi tu muda utakapokuwa unasonga mbele, viongozi kama wewe mtakuwa mnakutana naye ili pengine kujadiliana zaidi kuhusiana na yale ambayo yaliyafikiwa katika kongamano la juma lililopita. Pengine kusonga mbele, wewe kama kiongozi unaangalia ama unatarajia afueni ya aina gani kwenu nyinyi kama wabunifu?
Kwanza tuko nchi ambaye lazima pia kelele ndio utambulike. So kelele ni lazima. Lazima pia kelele, lazima ukuletia gas ndio usikike kwanza. La pili, hao tech giants ambaye hata nafurahi sana leo asubuhi nilikuwa nasoma rais pia amekutana na Google huko Washington. Na pia siku ile za wiki iliyopita ambaye tulisherehekea Jamhuri Day pia alikutana na tech giants wengi sana. Lakini at the end of the day bado inategemea the policy makers. Tukipatia nguvu Kenya Innovation Agency na pia Ministry of ICT pia ipate nguvu na pia ikue serious about youth. Isikue tu PowerPoint presentation ama kitu ya ku discuss kwa boardroom alafu ikaisha. We need something tangible. That thing should start with policy. Policy ikue well structured. Ndio mtu at least akikuja na ubunifu asipite changamoto mingi. Kama hiyo tax netoaje startup bill ilikuwa naguze vitu zingine hapa ambaye kama ingepitizwa kwa kweli ingesaidia wabunifu wengi sana. Kama sasa mimi nafaa kulipa ushuru na bado sijakoma. Kwa hivyo hiyo startup bill ilikuwa nasema mtu apewe uhuru wa kutotoa ushuru kwa miaka 7 hivi. Vitu kama hizo ingetusaidia. Na pia kupewa grant ya kwa hiyo ubunifu wako. Mwambiwe shika milioni 3 wewe jiendeleza ama rudisha baadaye kama grant ama loan. Kwa hivyo matumaini yangu ni kuwa hizi kelele zote za ama EBD ambayo imeanzishwa na hii serikali mpya isikue tu kelele ya chura. Isikue tu vitu ya picha peke yake for the lens ama kupika tu handshake na pale. Vile wameanza sasa ni vizuri, lakini na hofu ya kuwa itakuwa tu gumzo mtaani. But ikiidhinishwa vile iko na pia waendelee. Na kuendelea, ningependa rais apatie watu serious. Watu ambao wanaelewa mashida za innovators. Watu ambao wako na innovators at heart. Sio watu wa kusikia na tumbo. Kama akifanya hivyo, bila shaka hii nchi itaenda mbele sana, kwa sababu huwa nakuaga judge ya Innovation Challenge. Kama Makueni tulifanya, kuna hub ya county inaitwa Makueni Innovation County Innovation Hub. Sasa tumefanya mashindano kama 2 sasa. Na mimi ni one of the judges. Pia Konza kuna ile COVID-19 challenge nilikuwa judge. So unatumiwa innovations kama 50 ndio judge. You judge hizo innovations. Na sometimes na furahi sana vile unaona Kenya vijana wanajitahidi kuleta ubunifu, mpaka zingine unashangaa how did he with all the challenge ambayo ametoa. Mtu ako Makueni huko mashinani, lakini analeta ubunifu zingine. Kama angekuwa nchi nyingine, huyo mtu angekuwa milionea ama hata bilionea. So every year nakutana na takriban let's say karibu 200-300 ubunifu. Kwa hiyo harakati zangu za kujudge ama kumentor innovators. Na sometimes I wish kama every innovator angepata hiyo the necessary support. Na kuambia hii nchi tungekuwa mbali sana. Lakini bado naona hatua zinapigwa si za kufurahisha sana. But I wish and I hope hii serikali mpya itakuwa serious. Vile imeanza sasa itakuwa serious about the ecosystem ya innovation.
Naam, hapo awali Abdul ulisema kwamba kuna ajenda nyingi zinazoanzishwa kwa manufaa ya kuwafaidi vijana kama ulivyosema, lakini kilichoko ni kwamba mwisho sio vijana wanaofaidika kutokana na hizi fedha ambazo pengine zinatengwa kuwafaidi vijana. Mtazamo wako kama kijana kiongozi na kijana mbunifu, ungependa pengine yapi yatekelezwe ili kuhakikisha kwamba zile fedha ambazo zinatengwa kuwafaidi vijana ama vijana kujiinua katika pengine masuala ya ubunifu na teknolojia na kujiendeleza katika siku za hapa mbele, kusonga mbele, zinafaidi vijana wenyewe na sio kuishia kama unavyosema kwamba huenda zikaishia kuwa gumzo mtaani.
La kwanza, kama ningekuwa na uwezo ningezitoa hizi youth programs karibu zote, kwa sababu Ministry of Youth iko na program zake, Ministry of ICT iko na zake, Ministry of Gender iko na youth department. So unashangaa kila department, kila idara iko na youth program. Kama ningekuwa na uwezo ningezitoa hizi zote nilete kwa Ministry of Youth peke yake. Ndio hapa innovations na teknolojia na hizo support system ya vijana wote ikuwe channel, kwa sababu it's confusing. Kwa sababu unapatana na kila wakati kwa gazeti unaona tu kuna mtu anaitwa yeye ni CEO wa youth something, na bado yeye mwenyewe ukiangalia miaka zake zimesonga kweli sio youth. Kwa hivyo kama ningekuwa na uwezo ningezileta kwa one department, ndio mtu at least ajue akifika kwa hiyo department anapatana na all the support. Sio lakini unaenda kwa Ministry of Gender na bado unapata kuna youth. Kuna moja pia imebuniwa na Deputy President juzi ya KYEEP something. Kulikuwa na nyingine pia ya KY something. Bado unaona kuna duplication of mandates and task. Kwa hivyo unaona ni inachanganya. Kwa hivyo ningesema ile tutakuwa moja na ikuwe na maofisi katika mashinani, katika county levels. Kwa sababu sasa ukifika mahali kama Wajia ukiulize vijana kuna programs ngapi unazijua za vijana, hawezi kuambia hata hawajui. Ama funds kama Uwezo Fund, Youth Fund ambazo huwa zinaenea kila mahali, most of the people hawajui. Kwa hivyo kuna lack of also information. Ni kama tu wale wako around Nairobi ama ndo labda wanasikia ama wanaelewa hizo program za vijana ama hizo fundings. Lakini ukifika sehemu zingine za Kenya ni kama hawaelewi. Kwa hivyo ningesema maofisi ziende huko kwa mashinani na ikuwe department moja, tusikuwe confused. Yeah.
Asante sana kwa kauli hizo. Pengine naarifu kwamba ni fungani, ila kwa dakika sekunde 30 kwa kifupi tu uzungumzie kijana ambaye anakutazama kwa sasa kuhusiana na masuala ya ubunifu, asiogope, ajitume, hali iko vipi? Very very short tafadhali Abdi.
La kwanza vijana ningewaambia vile dunia inaenda sahihi. Kama saizi tumeshapata magari ambayo zinajiendeza. Ukienda kwa mafactory kubwa wame-automate everything. Kwa hivyo zile courses wanafanya sahihi kwa miaka 5 takriban ama miaka 7 itakuwa obsolete. Kwa hivyo kama wanafanya course lazima technology ikuwe hapo ndani. Lazima. Kwa sababu utamaliza hiyo course na bado kazi yako itachukuliwa na machine. Kwa sababu dunia sasa hivi inaenda everything itakuwa automated. Kila kitu. Mpaka zamani kulikuwa na HR na nini na siku hizi kila kitu ni system peke yake. Kwa hivyo kama kijana ananitazama ningewaambia number 1 wazingatie course ya teknolojia. Kama wewe ni daktari, kama wewe ni mwalimu, regardless of ile course unafanya, make sure umefanya course ya teknolojia. Si lazima ikuwe outside. You can be a doctor but still kuna technology ya health. Na pia usiogope kufikiria. Be wild. Kuja na idea ya yoyote, usiogope. Na pia ningesema ile mahali pesa iko sasa ni kusolve problems. Katika jamii yako, katika hiyo environment yako, kuna vitu ambaye mtu anasema kama ingekuwa hivi, singekuwa vizuri. Ama hii ingekuwa those maswali, those challenges ambayo watu wanalalamika. Hiyo ndo pesa yako. Make sure wewe unaleta solution kwa hiyo jamii. Hapo ndo wewe kupata pesa. Ubunifu basically ni hiyo. Na kama wako kwa hizo mashinani sasa kwa hizo counties, ningesema walk into any of our hubs. Waende kwa www.countrywidehubs.org. Watapata orodha ya hubs So kama kwa Garissa atajua ni hubs ngapi ziko Garissa na waende wa walk in. Na wako na nini waende na fikra zao. Fikra si lazima ikuwe imeiva. Unaweza kuwa tu na fikra yoyote. Kwa hivyo fika pale wewe sema mimi niko na fikra hizi na utasaidika.
Naam, asante sana kwa kauli hizo. Itabidi tumefunganya kwa sababu ya muda. Mawazo mazuri sana ningesema. Mimi mwenyewe nimefaidika sana kutokana na pengine mawazo ya kwako kama mtaalamu wa masuala ya ubunifu. Mtazamaji, kufikia hapo sina la ziada, naambiwa kwamba nifunganye. Muda wangu umenipa kisogo. Mimi naitwa Gladys Mungai. Studioni tumekuwa na katibu mkuu wa muungano wa vituo vya ubunifu nchini, anafahamika kama Abdinul Ali. Asante sana kwa kuitikia mwito. Mimi naondoka, tukutane tena hapa kesho saa na mida kama hii. Endelea kutazama.
Feel the excitement. Relish every moment. Get 1.5 GB at 50 bob. Valid for 3 hours. Furahia futa. Dial *544 hash. Make Chaguo smarter na Airtel, the most affordable network.
Kupata mtumaini Mungu kama sikiza tuni yako, bonyeza *811 *815 hash.
Mtumaini Mwenyezi Mungu kwa moyo wako wote, wala usitegemee akili zako mwenyewe. Umtambue Mungu katika kila ufanyalo, naye atazinyosha njia zako. Usijione wewe mwenyewe kuwa mwenye hekima. Mche Mwenyezi Mungu na kujiepusha na uovu. Methali 3:5-7. Kumbe uovu huwajia wasiojiepusha na huo uovu. Tazama, unahitaji kufanya moja tu bila gharama.
Kupata mtumaini Mungu, bonyeza *811 *815 hash.
Make transactions anywhere in the world with the NCBA Visa card and stand a chance to win big. Join the FIFA World Cup 2022 when you win an all-expenses-paid trip for you and your +1 to watch 2 games. Or win exciting weekly prizes that will make your FIFA viewing experience super duper. All it takes is a swipe or a tap to pay 2,000 Kenya shillings or more with your NCBA Visa debit or credit card. The more you swipe or tap to pay, the higher your chances of winning with 1 point for every 2,000 Kenya shillings spent. Don't miss out. NCBA. Go for it.